I was supposed to tell you that October this is there will be.
So we won't have, we don't need forum for the work session.
But we'll have them.
We will, hopefully, not gonna wood.
Full ride machine.
Full ride machine.
Here we go, wood.
I was told by someone that he actually really wants the full ride.
Such a romantic.
So he was at Georgetown. Yeah. Jen told me that you used to always request the full riding machine, and so she was never able to get that. We're gonna have one from CCMRD, so we used to work at Georgetown. And I was like,
Yeah, ladies.
It doesn't matter.
Then you started.
You're right.
probably.
Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak. When you speak in conclusion, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak.
That's all.
Yes,
I know. So,
do you want the type marks?
But,
Do you want the type marks? Like official font.
Why it came up and did it.
I'm sending you.
Cause I have.
Well,
I have
we're
it
working
over.
on this.
Mhm.
Or you have to say like,
Okay.
You're gonna go, college try.
however you got.
I was trying to send you the full font.
Business community. Yeah.
Just be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because now this is not being applied. Oh,
Yes.
So last week was a rough week. And I'm waiting, I
yeah.
have one job that I'm waiting for somebody to keep things on and they're not responding. I'm like, oh, come on. This, Andy, this is the broken one, it's the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the back.
Big
So
sign.
put it right here and it can be somebody else's. Hi, ladies. Do we know you? No. You don't
Is
know.
this for
me.
guest speaker?
Are you a guest speaker? No. Could be.
Figuring it out.
You guys ready?
Yes, it's just the three of us.
I know. All
Right, come on, Jeremy. Be in charge.
I don't wanna be in charge of this, so.
You agreed.
I did. One of the reasons I agreed, I can't argue that. My mistake.
Not that he had a choice.
Not anymore.
There's one big balance here. Okay, let's walk over to Idaho Springs.
So we're good there.
Tuesday, May 27th.
All right,
Work
we're getting
session.
started, guys.
We had one subject with the Bellevue Mountain Project drop off, like some of they're working with the county, so they're not gonna be here tonight. They're pursuing other avenues.
They're not necessarily dropping that
No.
from the table altogether, but they want to, work with the county, which I think makes sense, given that they're in county.
Incorporated.
Right.
So, anyway, they may come in the future.
May I ask a question about this? Is this, they come to us last year and they were interested in us paving Virginia Canyon Road up higher? That's the same one?
Yeah,
Okay.
that potential annexation.
It's the same project.
Okay.
It's still in the packet if you.
Oh, I looked at it, but I was like.
If you wanna take time to peruse it, it's pretty interesting. It sounds like they're, talking to the county initially and go from there. So we have we'll start with the parking agreement update. And we'll finish with the police department annual report. How are you guys? We're so happy to be here. Who wants to start?
I will start.
Awesome.
Thank you. This is gonna be similar to the presentation that I gave at the business council, a week ago. And I'll just get through this and I'll be happy to take questions, at the end. This agreement is, covered in two documents. The agreement for services, which is kind of the generic boilerplate agreement for services that the city uses to engage, entities for services. And then a scope of services attached to that agreement. So I'll be referring from both documents as we go. Real quick to give a timeline of the managed parking program services search. February 19th of this year, the city issued a request for proposals for parking management program. February 25th, the city hosted a pre-bid meeting and site tour. This was required and it was to be in person. The city ended up with 11 potential vendors, which was a very good turnout. As I mentioned before, Estes Park, when they went through theirs most recently, had 9 vendors show up. So we were happy with the turnout that we had. March 19th was the RFP closing date. And at that time, we received 9 requests for proposal submissions from all over the country. The responses were distributed to an ad hoc working group consisting of the mayor, Andy Marsh, myself, and Maria, and Sadie. The ad hoc members were provided with score sheets to review the 9 proposals using the evaluation criteria directly from the RFP. And that criteria in specific was the company profile and experience, technology and equipment, the financial proposal, customer service and community impact, operational plan and staffing, sustainability and innovation, commitment to sustainable practices, and innovative strategies for improving parking management. March 24th, the ad hoc met to review and discuss the 9 submissions, and the group unanimously selected 3 firms to conduct interviews. March 26th, we conducted those interviews with the 3 companies. March 27th, the ad hoc committee reconvened and selected 1 firm as the company recommended for further consideration. At the April 14th City Council meeting, the council convened an executive session to discuss the proposal from the selected firm and to provide directions to city negotiators on the next steps. May 12th, the City Council convened an executive session again to review and provide feedback on the results of those contract negotiations. And May 27th tonight, City Council has the contract in front of them for their review and approval if they see so fit. So the City of Idaho Springs is proposing to continue its association with Interstate Parking Company of Colorado, LLC, who currently provides the services for the managed parking program for the city. So I want to go through some of the highlights of this proposal. And the first one is the term. The term of the agreement runs through May 31st, 2030. So it runs for 5 years. It contains an option for 2 additional 2-year renewals based on performance. So we could felt that this allowed us the opportunity to have an out if we needed it, but it gave time for them to invest in the community, and if things are going well, there's some assurance that their association with the community will continue. The compensation. The revenue sharing model is as follows. The contractor will receive 36.75% of net revenue, decreasing to 33.33% when the East End zone goes live. The city is considering and planning on initiating managed parking on the east end of the town. There will be no division of revenue between fees and violations, therefore removing the motivation of the contractor to issue tickets. That is feedback that we got from the last contract, and that has been changed for this contract. And another termination clause, the city may terminate the contract with 60 days notice or immediately in cases of serious breach or lack of budget appropriation, and that is due to Tabor in the state. For daily parking operations, the rate structure for paid parking will be set by resolution by the city council. Currently is in the contract now. That'll change where just as the city sets fees for water, sewer, so on and so forth annually, they'll also set fees for parking. And then current times of enforcement right now are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and those will still be in effect, but those can of course as well be amended by the city council. Excuse me. As far as permits and registration, the city and county residents and employees of businesses in the city will have the ability to receive parking permits. The application process will be online. Each permit holder will have access to their information at any time through their individual portal. So no longer do you have to communicate with them, no longer do you have to ask them questions. You will have the ability to access your own personal account 24/7 to see the standing of your personal account. City residents will be able to park for free anywhere in the city. They will also be able to get temporary permits for their guests through their portal. Again, no more having to send an email, You just register right through the portal. County residents will be able to park for free for up to 3 hours in non-residential parking zones. When they leave the zone, the 3 hours begins again. So they will park for free, but only in places that are designated non-residential. Employees will be able to park for free in reserved employee parking locations. Permits are fully digital through a license plate-based reading system. So your license plate is your permit. If you're a resident, all they do is scan your license plate. You don't have to have anything hanging from your rearview mirror, anything like that. City and county residents will have to register every 2 years. Employees will be required to register every 6 months. The system will inform pass holders when their renewal date is approaching. So trying to help everybody out, give you some heads up when it's time to renew. The contractor will provide assistance to citizens who need help registering and renewing passes. To that end, we've had conversations. For instance, some of our citizens who may need assistance will be working with the public library. They can set up an appointment with the contractor, so on and so forth. So we're trying to make an effort for all citizens to be able to have access to registering their vehicles. Enforcement and compliance. On-duty ambassadors issue citations with photographic evidence. The contractor shall respond to complaints within 1 business day. Violations unresolved may go to collections, and appeals are available through the city prosecutor and the city's municipal court. One thing of note, in the time that the city has had a managed parking program, there has been not 1 ticket that has gone through the city prosecutor or the municipal court. They're handled 100% so far at the level of dealing with the contractor. No late fees without documented response to customer inquiries. And for them to go to the collections, that needs to be approved by the city. There's enhanced services for the community. For customer service, the contractor will provide a designated city liaison to address issues, attend meetings, facilitate resolutions, etc. They will be empowered to represent the contractor to the city. And we feel that's very important that they can attend meetings. You have somebody to speak to, and we have somebody directly to speak to. The local office will provide live support via phone, text, and email. There'll be a minimum of 2 ambassadors on duty during peak times, and all the staff will wear uniforms, carry ID, and pass background checks. We want it very obvious to our guests who is managing the parking for us. We'll be using smart technology, so it'll be real-time dashboard for city monitoring. That means the city will no longer have to wait for a report from the contractor, and instead we'll have unfettered, up-to-date access to parking data in real time whenever the city wants it. So right now we're getting reports monthly, and sometimes they're on time, sometimes they're a little late. With this contract, we will be able to have real-time data on their performance anytime we would like to see it. And we think that's a great benefit. There'll be modern kiosks, there'll be license plate recognition, and there'll be QR code payment tools. And then the contractor will provide dynamic signage and wayfinding to improve flow, reduce confusion, and elevate the visitor experience. What that means is if you go to some places, like at the airport or the casinos, or you'll see parking available here, no parking available here. Well, during our busy times, we want to provide that too. So when our guests come off the highway, we'll have signage directing them in real time to where they can find parking. So they're not just looping and looping and looping around the city. We can get them to a parking place quickly and efficiently and have them out experiencing Idaho Springs instead of just driving around. For the website and accessibility, it'll be user-friendly site that will include permit registration, frequently asked questions, live maps, customer feedback, and event info. The live maps we feel are important, so when people get used to visiting Idaho Springs, they'll be able to go online, visit our website, and see in real time where there's parking available. So we feel with that type of technology, the wayfinding signs, so on and so forth, we can greatly increase the enjoyability of coming here, parking, getting out of your car, and experiencing Idaho Springs. And then it'll be optimized for mobility, fully compliant with web accessibility standards that have been put forth by the state of Colorado. We have a few community-focused innovations. We have local business validation, which enables businesses to work directly with the contractor to offer discounted or free parking for their customers. So for instance, if they want to say, we're going to cover the cost of your parking 100%, they can do that. They can say, you get a free soda if you visit us with your parking. They can do that. We wanted to allow the local businesses flexibility on how to give credit to their visitors. The city will have a parking rewards program. This will allow the city to work directly with the contractor to provide incentives for compliance and repeat visitors. So let's say we have somebody who's up here all the time going to the bike park. We can recognize that. We can say, you come here 10 times, on your 11th time, you get half off your parking. Just an incentive to recognize people who come here often, or to provide any incentive we want for our guests. And then proactive alerts. In an effort to minimize violations, which was something that violations is a big topic of this current contract negotiation. In an effort to minimize violations, guests will get a text or an email reminder. They'll be sent to them before their session expires with renewal links. So if you're 5 or 10 minutes away from your parking expiring and you're in the middle of lunch, you'll get a text or an email and you can just respond right there and refill your allowance and pay for another half-hour parking or whatever you choose, and you'll never have to get up from your seat. And we think that's a great benefit to our visitors. And oversight and accountability. There'll be biannual council updates from the contractor to the city council to ensure transparency and performance tracking. Minimum biannual. And if the council would request more, they've agreed to do that. We're going to have public-facing key performance indicators, KPIs, metrics that we want to choose 4 to 6 KPIs that generally measure how they're doing parking, how good or how bad or what problems they're seeing. And those will be on the website and those will be for everybody to see. And so those could be parking occupancy, violation resolution time, user satisfaction, so on and so forth. But they're measurements that we agree on with the contractor that everybody will have access to see. And then we'll be receiving audit-ready financials. All revenue records and disbursements are maintained and available for the city audit, so we won't have to do anything with that. They will just hand us the information we need and they'll become part of the city audit. So that, in a nutshell, is what the new contract proposal is looking like. We've had several meetings with the provider, and we discussed a lot of things that were top of mind and feedback that we received from citizens and council. And we believe that they heard us, and we believe that they've offered new technology and to help mitigate some of the things that we ran into. We think the contract split reduces their urge to write tickets to make money. We felt that was important, and we worked on the communication part. So with that, is there any questions?
Just like some clarification, it's on the customer service, it says contractor will provide a designated liaison. Is this somebody that's going to be on site or just readily accessible?
Readily accessible, but their portfolio is Idaho Springs.
Okay.
So, and they're gonna be up here often.
I just don't, my concern is that I don't want this to fall back on the city because our employees have spent a lot of time dealing with parking. Like, I don't want to think about how much we've had to spend in what we paid for, you know, in addition to the fees that we paid in our previous contract. You know, so that I'm sure you feel that I want our staff to be able to say, oh no, here's the number that you have to call.
That is exactly what
And they
we
need to
have.
publicize that. That needs to be very public.
Yep. And that was part of our conversation. So you're exactly right.
Yeah, that's not our job. We paid too much money. I also appreciate that we have a 60-day get out of jail free card here. Because, no, we were stuck. We were stuck in our contract before. And a lot of these things have come out of the pain points that we have felt from our previous contract. So I'm trying to think. I think that's it for me right now.
Who's taking the enforcement and collections of people that don't pay their tickets and leave
That will be through them,
through,
through Interstate, the company. They'll do the collections, but any revenue that's come from those is split on that split with the city. They have to ask us before they go to collections. And the conversation we had was, in large, we wanted to avoid getting to that point. That's why we wanted somebody here for them to talk to. That's why we put in the must respond in 24 hours to a complaint. That's why we had them to be available by email and phone and so on and so forth. So we really, when we were having a conversation with Interstate, that was front of mind. And we did ask for some other things that they felt uncomfortable with after an analysis. We felt they were right, that we had asked for too much, but it was at all times, we really didn't want to provide them an incentive to penalize people, and penalize guests, because that's one of the things we heard back from business owners and guests.
Do we, regarding the business, what's it called? Customer service, local business, community focused, that part. Do we talk to them directly to understand how the local business validation thing would work and?
So I'll speak a little bit to that.
Yeah.
We've spoken to Interstate, and what we're gonna be doing is a couple of in-person workshops for businesses to go to, where Interstate will be hosting workshops to explain the program, tell you how to get involved. And then they'll be setting up one-on-one appointments with all the businesses to make sure that they fully understand the program. So first, we're gonna be kind of hosting some open houses where they can really learn what the business. Program is going to be completely crafted to us. This is something they've tested in other municipalities, but our program will be completely crafted to what the businesses here want. So they're going to host some workshops to get feedback, to really help craft the program to be what the businesses are looking for. And then after that, they'll be doing one-on-one appointments to get that moving forward. So we haven't heard any information about that yet, because obviously the contract has to be finalized before we can start moving in that direction.
Yeah, because I'll be interested in finding out how, like, okay, we validate for customer comes in, has a couple glasses of wine or beer, whatever, and whatever. And for whatever the limit is that we would validate, but then they could go somewhere else. And, that kind of thing for adding another couple hours on and how that'll be controlled.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
This is something the businesses are paying for, obviously there'll be a work there. So understanding if they're validation shopping, we're still making the revenue off of the parking, and the business is choosing to participate and get whatever business they're, I think most people are thinking, like, spend this much, get $5 whatever in parking. Like, there would be a minimum maximum exchange there, and that's where the customizable program is gonna be really unique and cool. I went and tested it in Breckenridge and a few other places that in Golden just instituted as well, and it's actually pretty cool. It's very smooth, it works very easily.
But the idea is it's not,
That's with Interstate. Interstate's doing it in Golden, a similar program, and in Breckenridge as well. It's kind of like advertising a little bit. When you pay for the parking, you kind of get a little flash up on your screen that says, hey, these are the places that validate parking. And then if you go into that place, you show them your parking, and then they have a program that you validate through, that's all through the tap to pay. It's all on the mobile phone from the tap to pay features that will be with the upgraded technology. It's pretty smooth. So it's gonna be, we're gonna be the largest probably participating municipality from what I understand. So they're building this to make it a little more robust for us as well.
but it should allow the business owners to have some creativity. It's not just a cookie cutter, one type of application. They're gonna have a couple different ways for you to say, hey, that works for us. And what works for one type of business may not work for another type of business.
Well, and you'll also be
And
able to do seasonality too, which is, I think, is another thing a lot of the businesses have been asking for, so.
Okay, thank you.
I know, I
So,
Any questions online?
I don't know.
I don't have anyone online.
I guess I'll ask just a general question, those in the audience, does this make sense from an improvement perspective? I know Kane's had issues with tickets, and I've heard talked about people that have the same experience, so I think the whole goal of this is how do we make it work for the city to avoid some of the pitfalls that inevitably we've heard. Remember, I've heard from everybody, they wrote those. So just curious what your thought is.
I've had a couple, I'll speak for several people who
Yeah.
are longtime natives.
Yeah.
Yeah, number one, nobody seems to know how long the parking permit is good for. And when you ask, I mean, of course, we come to the city and it's not their job, they don't know. So I heard that you guys are gonna send out an email or some kind of information to let us know when our permit has expired. Our county permit, I mean, that hasn't, I don't believe that's been done. I've never
It's not.
received anything. And I'm on my 5th parking ticket now for participating in businesses in Idaho Springs. And I know many, many people who will not come here because of that, who live here. Because they don't understand the process. So I think giving the information, let us know when the permits due or coming up will help. That's a big deal. And your point was very good too. I mean, we just need to understand how it works. You guys mentioned having a liaison with the city. I think that's very important. Someone who can just answer those questions quickly.
Does this make sense though? Like, because I have had the same problems you have. I have been a very big critic of our current parking plan. The website's gonna get easier. They're gonna send out email notifications,
I think that will help
you know,
tremendously.
huge. And if you're a city resident, you park anywhere. And if you're a county resident, you park anywhere that's non-resident, that doesn't say residential parking.
Right.
You know, that's simple, like, that was a thing that I've heard.
Yeah, like, no, it's so hard to know where you can actually.
Yeah, can we
park or
just make
not.
this easier? They have, this, I think, makes it easier.
It's easier, what I heard from this new contract, it's much easier. And like I said, knowing upfront how long this permit's good for would be really critical. And
What, does it help you to be able to manage this yourself? Like you can just go to interstate parking, put your license number in, you manage your own business without having to deal with anybody?
yeah, let's see, I mean, I just recently on my last ticket, they were very good, although it took, a few emails to get to that point. And I did go to the library to ask for assistance. And, that, I guess not really fair either, because that's not their job. And then I got a person who didn't really know what to do. I mean, not everybody at the library is at the same level of computer skill or knowledgeable about the parking permit program. So if that's gonna be where people are getting directed, I think there maybe needs to be a little bit of training on that end too.
For sure.
If that makes any sense.
I think having a liaison is gonna make it easier, but one of the things that we've requested is to make the website easier.
The
Like,
website is very difficult to
the
manipulate.
website sucks, let's just say it, it's terrible.
Okay.
And I'm fairly techie, and I'm like, this is a hot mess.
It's
So
difficult.
we're trying to unhot mess it.
Okay, that's my feedback, make it easier, let us know. Have some place that says, okay, your permit, your local permit's good for 2 years, 6 months, whatever that is, I don't care, I just would like to know what it is.
Does it help you to have an email notification that says, hey, next month, your permit is done? Please read
Me,
it.
because I'm old
Yeah.
school, yes, it would help me.
Okay.
Pretty much, I didn't realize 2 years had gone by.
Can you just go over under the new contract, how the registration will, work for residents? There's some changes there, right, and how that's gonna work with the registration?
So, yeah,
Or-
so it's gonna be all automated.
Just review it.
Yeah, review. So it's gonna be an all automated system now. So you'll be able to register for what's called a resident portal, which means that you'll register for the portal one time. And when you register for the portal, you'll submit your water bill, just like it is now, or another verifiable proof of residency. You'll submit that, you'll get a username and password, and in there you can go in and type in your license plate and immediately hit add, and it will then add it to your account. then it will send out notifications for renewal, those things, as well as if you sell that car, you can go into your own portal and delete that plate, say add a temp plate, but it's all gonna be run off of your resident portal account.
Which
Which
I have two cars, I can just have two cars in my portal.
in your portal, and also through that portal, you'll be able to register your guests. So say you have someone coming to visit you, you can easily just go into your portal and add those plates in as guests and give them guest tags. And it will be all real time now, it won't require, the only thing that will require review will be your initial portal access. Which means when we create your portal up front, we'll need to verify, obviously, that the water bill is who you say you are, just through the same process. But once that's done, everything else will be real time and able to be managed, send notifications out. And city council will set the requirements for what is agreeable as proof of residence.
So your license plate that has your address and stuff, that's not adequate for proof of residency.
That is up to city council to designate what proof of residency is. If it's just the registration of your car, saying that your car is registered in Idaho Springs, that's up to city council per the contract. Council will set the terms of what it means to be a resident.
It just felt a little invasive to have to go back home and scan a utility bill. But you've got this information from, I mean, I live here, here's my.
But well,
driver's
so my
license.
question for that would be, that would require interstate to have access to like the DMV records.
Okay.
I don't know, if like,
Yeah, they do.
yeah, so
They
they,
do not.
in order for them to say, oh, Lisa, you live in Idaho Springs, you're registered in Clear Creek County, they would have to access the DMV records. I don't know,
There's a simple
They're not
solution for
to-
that. If we're requiring them to upload a water bill, it's no different than them taking a picture of registration for all 4 vehicles, for example.
Mhm.
If you have a license plates, if registrations to go with it, my perspective only. To me, that's good enough. I don't want to delve into the, well, is it registered here, but they live in Littleton?
But you know,
Right? So it
having-
makes it clean.
having lived somewhere where I didn't own a house though, I was registered, my car was
Well, that's,
registered
I
in a
think
different county.
that's the whole point though too, is if they don't own a house or they pay for a place that city utilities are included, it makes it kind of hard for them to just show proof of where they live a lot of times. So if we can make that as clean as we can for the majority of the people using, especially county residents, that's where it gets, I think it gets wonky is letting county residents easily register to come in Idaho Springs, because we have lost a lot of business because they don't want to come to Idaho Springs, so they don't do the parking, which is unfortunate. So-
It does currently, sorry.
No, go for
It
it.
does currently allow you to upload a vehicle registration to demonstrate the current address. So we already do allow that.
But I think we also are gonna have to allow leases for people that live here, that don't own property here.
Well,
Maybe their
that's,
cars, like,
yeah, it
there are people
currently
that are
allows,
registered elsewhere.
it currently allows a utility bill, a copy of your lease, or your vehicle registration.
I
Okay,
think all, a combination of all the above should make it easy for everybody. I think the intent is to not make you go, like, who here has a free post office box? But we have to go through the fun of proving that we're residents, right? 12 different ways with the criteria. I'd like to make it easier than that. I'm to the point I'm gonna pay for a post office box because I don't want to go down with the bill. Sorry. For the money to me.
oh my God.
So we want to make it easy and we want to make sure that both residents know how easy it is. And we facilitate that. And then we need to get people who live in the county to be willing to come back in Idaho Springs with no fear of getting 12 parking tickets. Because we made it easy for them to register the vehicles and now they're doing business in town and they're enjoying the things they used to enjoy prior to us having to pay parking. I think this is our opportunity to fix a lot of little things we've been fighting for 3 years. That's communication, that's us actively having conversation with people, it's helping people at the library. Maybe understand what it takes to help them if they walk in off the street, but we can do all that. And the ambassador program is a huge part of that is, here's your point of contact, I think they're still gonna have appointments, so they
Yeah,
understand
they'll
that.
be available for in-person meetings,
So
right?
So they can make an appointment the next day and say, hey, in person, get it fixed. All of this, I think, combines to a parking program that I think we can actually say, this is a good program, because currently we're in that, this part's great, and the other 90% is, eh. So I think we're trying to get to that 80% mark. We'll never be 100%, let's be honest. No program's 100% perfect, but if 80% of the time it works exactly as intended, we can deal with the 20%, that's a lot less staff. This is kind of my thoughts on parking, and I also, I grew up in the town, I remember no parking, to pay parking to where we are now, and it's come a long way, but there's some things we can fix with this contract that I think kind of bring that to the next, hopefully to the next level we're working. And by Guy working so hard with the contract, he's got the things in place now that allows him to say, no, this isn't working, we need to fix it. But we didn't have that in previous contract. So all of that comes together.
Just a quick thought on that, and then something you touched on, you're gonna really need to market this new program. I mean, like Splat, you know, because not everybody is looking, they're not on Facebook necessarily, they're not going into the city websites or any of that to capture these others that aren't into the other avenues that we're talking about, the technology, to really get it out there. You know,
My one suggestion for that, and I don't know why I didn't think about this until right now, is that maybe with council's blessing and approval, we could maybe look at a program with Interstate, is if they currently are a resident that just renewed or a recent renewal of a resident, we could maybe automatically create portals for them, because they've already gone through the burden of providing their addresses, and proving that they're residents, so maybe we could automatically kind of do a first wave of like residents, because I believe from my understanding of Interstate, and Guy, correct me if I'm wrong, the background data isn't changing. So if you're registered as a resident right now, you will still be registered as a resident in this new contract. So it would just be the resident portal aspect.
well, I was more thinking of something that'll get the people that don't wanna have anything to do with coming here because of parking. Hey, we've got this brand new, wonderful program, and, you know, it's simple, it'll be that, you'll love it. Please, you know, something that's gonna invite like that, that's kind of more what I was thinking.
Oh, cool, yeah, I totally think that's definitely gonna be happening.
Yeah, I don't, because you got a lot of outreach that has to happen, and, you know,
Create a portal that's gonna be a huge
to get
mess.
that. Because we've had customers come in and say, we don't come down here, once a year, they're local, downtown. And because of the parking, and I went and got a printout of how they totally misunderstood where they could park. I got it, oh, well, we didn't realize that, we didn't think and I showed them. You know, how as a resident, you can park, whatever.
No, but you make a very good point, because there is a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of negative,
Yeah,
there is a negative perception, and some of it is totally deserved and some of it is not. You know, oh, I can't park here unless I pay. No, actually, if you live in the county, you don't have to pay. It's that simple. But that does not always make it through communication. So I agree with you on outreach.
yeah.
On the east end, where are you gonna park these people? You have Marion's, they have their own parking. You have the gas stations, they have their own parking. You have Smoking Yard, they have their own parking. So where are you planning the paid parking? Have that figured out yet?
Where will the paid parking be on the east end? Is that the question?
Correct.
It'll be along Colorado Boulevard.
So you have Marion's, you have Starbucks, you have.
Those are their own parking.
Those
Are
are
those
their
all-
own parking, right?
I don't know that those are all their own parking.
Not
And
owned
that-
by the business person, I think that's where the misconception happens is. We have some of this misconception that the parking on Cole Boulevard is all owned by the respective business, and that's actually not the case. So I think that's, we talked about that a little bit, to look at that, like Marion's, for example, it doesn't start till 10. We have to figure out how we manage that. But I think if you look at Marion's, for example, this is where that campaign comes in, we talk to people. How many people go to Marion's almost every day that are residents? That we may not have outreached properly to, that need to understand that they registered their vehicle. They're good to go, they can park there 5 days a week if they choose to and enjoy their time like they always do. I think that's where our opportunity comes. And then we capture parking from 10 until, when they close at 3 o'clock, right? Leaves Marion, 10 to 2. We have a 5 hour or 4 hour window that we capture parking revenue from the visitors. well, the residents are parking for free as intended. I think this is an opportunity for us to clean some of that stuff up.
Because that's city, isn't it?
It is, and I
Yeah,
think that's where some of the
that's-
misconception has
right.
gone through is, and this is the same thing we have to figure out with like Napa, for example, is there a spot that's designated for like 30-minute pickup, so the businesses like the shops can come in, or we just talk to the shops and say, hey, register your vehicle, so when you park at Napa to get parts, you're good to go. Like, that's some of the stuff we have to figure out with this, which is unique. But we've got a large section of town that we've not really regulated parking. The mountain bike park is, though Virginia Canyon Open Space Park, we call it, it's actually what we call it, is unique. The gondola is gonna be unique, so now we're in a position, we wanna be ahead of that and say, okay, let's capture some parking revenue that we can reinvest in the impacts within town. But at the same time, educating people on how to get free parking, working with the businesses to do the right thing. So I think it's gonna be an interesting 6 months for all of us, but it's also an opportunity for us to kind of do some outreach, and you're exactly right, I'm anti-Facebook, so thank you for saying no Facebook. But it even like, I didn't know about Nextdoor till 5 years ago, I use that all the time to outreach the HOAs. It's remarkably efficient. For people that don't have Facebook, they have a Nextdoor account, so they can see what their neighbors are up to, it's great, I'll learn this. But I think we have an opportunity to heavily market and have a lot of face-to-face conversations with people, face-to-face conversations with HOAs, especially in the county, with, hey, put this out to your HOA group. So, and then we can do a better job, I think we can do a better job collectively of getting people signed up, getting people to use the program, collecting revenue from the visitors, which is the intent of the program, while having everyone in the county feel free to come to town and do whatever they choose to do in the business district whenever they want to.
What
I'm
now,
not into that.
what is our time, do we have a timeline for East End activation?
Try to get to it as soon as we can.
Okay, are we also putting into this that we wanna look at West End? For residential parking?
Yes, I think our thought was to phase it in. Our first focus would be on the east end to
Mhm.
manage that parking. And the direction is we should be doing managed parking citywide. But I think that we'd like to first, it's a little more complicated on the east
East
end.
End,
With the considerations of some of the businesses, maybe having some 15-minute spots. The needs there are a little different than downtown because you're gonna have more pressures perhaps earlier in the day with people using the mountain park, businesses like Marion's. They're gonna be competing for parking early on, and then as you get later in the day, it's more like downtown. So I think we will be talking about this upcoming work session with council to update our parking plan, see how we want that to be structured as far as the managed parking for the east end. And then the west end is gonna be mostly residential permanent parking.
it is, but as somebody that lives on the West End, I have been paying attention over the last year about when does the West End get, like, when does the parking fill up? Cause I generally don't have parking issues. Because parking, but when it's really busy downtown, I think with the mountain park, and then when the gondola gets itself going, that is gonna spill over to West End. I would actually like to be ahead of that.
Okay.
If we could, cause I feel like on East End, we're a little behind the eight ball on that one.
We are, I think the West End is gonna have a unique issue. If we regulate that all by itself and we do nothing on that end, I think phasing is the way to do it, but we let that sit for 6 months, we're gonna shift the problem.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Right, and
Like,
then-
I think as we're doing East End, I would like to see how we roll out West End. And then my other question for that, because when East End opens up and goes live, the contractor Interstate's gonna go from 36.75 to 33.33. Is there room to negotiate when West End opens? Or is that not part of the negotiation?
That's not part of this negotiation, but I think, I'm not sure how much is gonna be paid
Paid
parking.
parking in
Yeah,
West
it's
End.
just
So there's no revenue
residential.
stream to really discuss.
Pretty limited by.
There's management thereof, but no revenue.
Oh,
Just popped in. Last year, last year, we were like July, I don't know, like 1st or something, talking about parking for the 4th. Which we were kind of already, too late to do a lot of the things ideas that came up. So I'm just throwing it out there. That really needs to be looked at, how we're gonna handle that as a city and all that. There were a lot of things discussed, but not time enough to, I don't think, to implement.
The nice thing with this new contract is that they're gonna start working with us, Interstate is, with a parking shuttle program as well. So they were committed to helping us with shuttle services.
So I mean, is that something that can be, like,
It's,
4th will be here before we know it,
it's in the works behind the scenes for 4th. Again, I can't really, we couldn't really say too much before we get the
Right.
new contract up into
Right.
place, but if everything goes continually, we do have a plan that will be like a first test run of this parking shuttle program. So we'll see how it goes, and then use it moving forward for
Right.
additional,
Okay.
but Interstate is willing to partner in that, meaning that they'll be taking on a lot of that cost, like such as shuttle buses and shuttle drivers, which are the two things that are hardest for us to
That'd be great.
take
We
over.
can get it going.
I think so too, because just anywhere in town from like 13th, down to 23rd sucks on 4th of July. Like I have to plan and then I don't go anywhere.
Right, we're all that way, we don't leave the house.
No, it's too hectic. I think I'm good. I think I have nothing more.
You're awful quiet.
Sorry, I'm running on little.
Operating on fumes.
No, I agree with everything that's been said. I think this contract has addressed the issues that have come up. Thank you for everyone who worked on it. I'm just echo what you guys have already said.
Well, and thank you for negotiating with them because I have been a very loud voice and I've fired them for like a year. Because they've not been great partners. I am hopeful that this means they're gonna be much better partners.
Good job on getting resolution of 95% of the issues that I know of are resolved. The 5% will probably in that category of, well, it makes sense for me not to do that, which I've been there and gone. Like, I really want to do A, actually it causes B and C to be a problem. Fine, you're right, we're not doing A. So thank you for that. I think this is an opportunity for us to revise a program that we started. That overall has worked with some hiccups. And then take feedback as we go. And I think it's all, thanks for giving feedback. Sorry to put you on the spot, Candy. Thank you for, but I think feedback is the only way we know if it works or doesn't work is feedback from everybody, businesses, residents, everybody going. And this was great up until it wasn't. And this is what happened. Because we don't know about it. We can't fix it. So all of it kind of comes together so we can manage it and hopefully get better. Next year we'll be better than we were last year, right? We'll just keep getting better with this and get East End in place, get West End in place.
Because, well, I don't want us to be a park and ride. You've lived here long enough. When I first moved here, this was a park and ride.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. This, yeah, if we can avoid that and get turnover, we want to, maintain the business. So there's people come in, they go out. They come in, they go out, and that happens. Yeah, we need a lot of things to happen, and I think we're on track. This is just one of the pieces of that success.
Do we have anything on the schedule as to when we are gonna be looking at I know we've talked about altering parking rates. Is that an upcoming work session or?
Not that I know of, but you can do it at any time. What I would suggest is you kind of get in the habit of doing it when you do your budget, and stuff like that. But I think to begin with, you can view them at any time. You did alter them.
Yeah, we just.
Yeah, we just did them, yeah.
revised them.
Yeah, not that long
You
ago.
can see what that is.
And I think that's been successful, right, Sadie?
Yeah, it's been
I've heard
super.
good things, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's been super successful so far. We also have not seen any dip in our average transaction.
Okay.
We've actually seen a slight increase in our average transaction, which I kind of expected. So they're going really well, and I would encourage council to keep the same rates throughout the summer, and then after summer and as East End comes online, we kind of maybe rethink it a little bit, but as of right now, it's working really well.
One thing I'll add that, and I mentioned this in executive session, speaking with the council, but to speak with the citizens tonight. We got 9 applications from sophisticated companies that had different technologies, different management styles, so on and so forth. So we actually got a really good education in what industry standards are. And we're able to communicate that with Interstate because they're in that game too, and they need to keep up. And they're doing so. So they added technologies. We saw stuff that we wanted done that they can do. So it was a great help to go through the entire process. There's a lot of reading. Look, 400 pages of reading in a weekend trying to go through these things, but I think the combination of what the city has learned the last couple of years and going through this process of reviewing all these intricate 60 and 70 page RFPs gave us a very good platform to kind of understand what we were looking at and to have a competent conversation with Interstate. I think produced a pretty good document.
Awesome. Any further comments? Well, thank you for being to come down here and talk about this, and I think this should continue. Have to roll this out because we're gonna make mistakes and we'll find that after the fact. We probably should have done that. So we kind of line everybody come down and say, hey, did you notice this happened? I think he does it for us all the time, which is great because she's kind of that person that sees everything, but thank you for the time. Next thing we have is the police department annual report. If you're ready, sir. Sure. You guys stay?
Yeah.
They're here for fun.
Thank you, I'll share.
Okay, I got it. It's a thin group tonight, so. Just a hard copy there. Well, normally we have this about a month sooner, but. What's that?
You should make a calendar out of the police hidden picture.
Oh, I know, they're fantastic, popular.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
All right.
This is so good.
So normally, again, we normally get this done about a month sooner. We were a little bit behind because our police department hosted the award ceremony, so we kind of got stuck in that and so this came out a little bit later. So I'll just highlight a few things. I don't need to sit here and read a lot, but I think there's some important things to highlight. The first and most important thing I think that you see there is the call for service and self-initiated activity is a lot higher. And so there's a few reasons I think for that. I think first of all, we transitioned to JeffCom 911. So when that happened in February, we don't have, that can affect the way the data comes in, the way that they did it versus the way that Clear Creek does that. And it's also important to know that this includes self-initiated activity like traffic stops, building checks, area checks. So our officers have been more proactive, I think. I think that's also part of why we're seeing a 41% increase. Okay, sorry. You just look like you had a question. So
We had a sidebar conversation. I apologize.
and also being fully staffed, I think also adds to that when the officers are being productive. So it is a pretty big number though. It's a big jump. So I'll be really curious to see how that goes next year. After a full year of data with JeffCom, just to see if it sort of stabilizes a little bit. So let's see, in-car camera systems. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback from the prosecutor and DA's office about the in-car camera systems. It's nice because we get to sort of see the sheriff's department doesn't have that technology. And so oftentimes us having that technology has really supported their effort. For instance, you know, I don't need to get to the details, but there was an officer involved shooting. And the DA has since cleared everybody that was involved in that. And really the camera that was in the one ISPD officer's car that was right on the bridge where this happened really captured that event. I don't know what the other cameras would have captured if it had just been body worn cameras. So I think it helped the DA's office in the decision that she had to make in the investigation of CBI. CBI did. We're really happy with our feedback system. I have a few examples of that here. So there's a system if our officers create a case or have interactions with people, it sends a text message and says, hey, this is Chief Busick. Please, if you wouldn't mind, please answering a couple of quick questions. And so that's actually been really nice. We get so much more positive feedback than what you would have otherwise gotten, because I think a lot of people have positive interactions, but they don't necessarily say anything. So it makes it's an easy way for people to interact with us. Just quick, and I'll mention as we go through, we started up on Facebook, which I think has been a big winner for our department, just sharing with what's going on locally. For instance, there was an expensive bike that was just stolen this weekend that we posted about today. And then obviously the new building is exciting, that project. So I'm flipping to the next page, the use of force data. I think this one's always sort of an interesting number. This one even went up even more as far as the percentage of use of force incidents that involve non-residents. So it's really kind of interesting that 88% of the use of force was non-residents of Idaho Springs. It's telling about the impacts of the interstate on our police department. The next slide about transparency, we always take a look at racial demographics. I think as a chief, it's very important that you are aware of these things. So our use of force based on the demographics, we want to make sure that we're not being biased. Our officers aren't showing biased behavior in the way that they use force, and certainly based on this specific censusreporter.org, it's showing that we're not. So the last use of force slide talks about the percentage of use of force. So if you really nail it down, 99.2% of our interactions with the public do not involve the use of force. So it did go up, and that could be commensurate with the number of calls and calls for service and self-initiated activity as well. So the overall number went up from last year to 58 from 34, but our calls for service also went up by 2,000. So the next one is more of a gee whiz analysis that obviously shows Friday and Saturdays. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays are the busiest days for calls. And normally from around 9 or 10 in the morning until around 11 o'clock at night is our busy time of day, which is commensurate with law enforcement across the United States. The number of pursuits and the number of people that run from us has certainly gone up. I think this graph is important to show that we were involved in 18 pursuits, but 10 of those, more than half, 10, the officers chose to discontinue pursuing the person because it was not worth it, not, too dangerous, or whatever those factors were. So I think it's important to see that there's good decision-making being done out there. There were number of significant events that we chose to show on the 2024 events, and I don't need to go through all those. The number of times that I have an officer take a picture of their radar and it's over 100 miles an hour out here is concerning to me. They have been doing a fair amount of traffic enforcement out there, but this one on the bottom picture that says 110 is not uncommon, unfortunately.
On this part of our road, that's scary.
It is
That means
It
on the
is.
highway,
110 miles an hour, right?
on that highway right there?
Yeah.
That's a horrible idea.
Yeah, it's not good.
Right.
No wonder we have so many accidents.
So, yeah, unless you really look to see what the arrow is pointing at, that's what that says is 110 on this radar. But I will say on the next slide, crashes, stolen motor vehicles statistics, I thought it was important to show that our motor vehicle crashes for the city have actually gone down significantly. And you want to take credit, say that the officers are out there doing that, people see the lights, they slow down a little bit, but we still have the 100+ mile an hour people. But our crashes did go down a fair amount, that's statistically significant over a 3-year period to see them go from 152 down to close to 100.
Is that on city streets?
That is on both city streets and on the highway.
Okay, and what are the limits on the highway? Where to where?
Sure, it's from the 243
Mm-hmm.
to the 239 on the highway.
Okay, thank you.
So the stolen cars did go up a little bit. but it's not hard to go up, just, that amount, I can't really put a finger on as to why that's the case. One of the things that the city and council approved was us using flock cameras, which are now in operation. I'm hoping that that might help with some of that, as we go forward, so it'll be a number to watch in the future. So the call comparison over 3 years, in 2024, assaults, burglaries, theft, crashes, and trespassing have gone down. And DUIs, and stolen vehicles, controlled substance, DUIs and controlled substance, a lot of that can be attributed to more self-initiated activity by the officers to see as to how why those numbers might go up a little bit. If they don't do anything, they don't stop anybody, then they're likely not gonna find a DUI. So,
What is a mental subject?
what's that?
It's a mental subject.
That's what's classified under the JeffCom, the way that they label those calls. So it's anything that could be sort of a crisis, somebody that's under some sort of a mental crisis. It could be something like someone who's suicidal. So it encompasses everything from someone who's suicidal to the person who's walking down the street, yelling at nobody, hitting themselves in the head. We had that call today. So it encompasses all of that. Versus singling it out to some of the other specific things. So the community feedback page, again, we have, I encourage, if you go onto our webpage, you can click on the live community feedback page and you can see these comments. So that you have the public has direct access to see and scroll through pages and pages of comments like that. And so we appreciate that. The kittens, yes, the kitten story was a great story that day when that lady came in. It's just funny how people react to animals. We all do, right? And then we spent a lot of time out by Carlson because it took them forever to get the school zone flashing light in, but it is in a few months before school ended, so that's good. I just happened to be out there that day. These two cars were racing down the road. Very nice gentlemen, by the way. They took their tickets with a smile, but they were fast
They
cars.
were racing.
Too fast. They were going a little fast.
Were they
They
racing?
weren't racing.
Oh, okay.
They weren't racing. They were just coming down the hill a little fast. Again, thanks to council, we were able to get the 2 new e-bikes, which will get out soon. The 2 new cars, the dash cameras, I mean, this stuff it costs. I mean, it costs money, and we appreciate the support of our city. One of our big things that our staff was awarded the Chiefs Award this year was our evidence section, which is kind of a boring behind the scenes thing. But they had to inventory the entire section, and they did barcodes for everything. And so they had to convert years of stuff that had handwritten receipts on it to a barcode system, which the 3 of them did such a great job. Officer Baylor, Danielle, and Sergeant Frost did an amazing job with that. We continue to focus on CIT training, 40-hour training for people that have mental health crisis. We're sending our 2 new people to that this year, so we'll have everybody certified. The code enforcement officer, there's a lot more that the code does that I think that some people don't recognize. For instance, anytime an officer tows a vehicle from a crash, so any crash, all those crashes I showed, the code enforcement officer has to follow up with all those because they're sitting at so-and-so's shop or so-and-so's lot, and someone has to, by state law, make sure that either the person, they come and get it and they deal with it, or their insurance deals with it, or it has to be processed and the pink slip signed over to the owner of the tow company so that then they can take it to be parted out or smashed or whatever it is, recycled. So there's some of these things are happening behind the scenes. I think some people are just, that's one example. And obviously we deal with typically around 35 to 40 abandoned cars a year is typically what he has. We had some difficulties pulling the data for some reason this year. after the Jeffcom switch. So we're working on a way to pull that data, and we're trying to provide a better, more detailed part in our staff reports to council every 2 weeks that show what Zach's doing. The new police station, there's well underway towards moving towards construction documents. The goal is to start construction in mid-July with an end move-in date around May. I think the construction is supposed to be slightly done by March, but we're probably gonna need a little more time to actually move in and button things up for May or June. So that's exciting. That's expanding that building. A number of awards were given out in 2023. One of our officers got a life-saving award for CPR and Narcan on a person that saved their life. And code enforcement officer Zacharias was given the Chief's Award, and then the other two officers, Sergeant Frost and Officer Romo, were given a meritorious service. Our Facebook page, we had something basically what I would say go viral, which is the pursuit that ended on Floyd Hill with the 3 snowplow drivers who took it upon themselves to get in front of that. We started looking into how many times that video had been seen, and it was more than 500,000. So to work in a city the size of 1,800 population and have something that's seen in a positive light more than 500,000 times was really attributable to the sort of the Facebook and the media side of it. Community outreach, we still do the Pizza with Police at Carlson and Empire Night Out, C3 event last year, emergency services. In fact, we're gonna need to talk about that because of the ball field construction, about what they're gonna do next year. Because they are doing construction over there, right, for the skate park? Yeah. So we'll have to have a conversation about that. The 4th of July event where we still have, you guys mentioned, we have the Rangers come help us with a number of these events, like the borough races that just happened on Sunday. But yeah, big events. And then of course, there's a couple of pages attributed to the mountain bike park. We wanted to put the public parking map in our annual report. We've so far so good. Even last year, we didn't have a lot of complaints of people using the mountain bike park and parking in residential areas. We did have complaints of them parking at the park. Oh, it's here at our park. Yeah, Cooper Riley. So we'll continue to work on that issue. And that's really it. We're moving up as far as our technology with being as open and trying to share what's going on in the community with social media. I think that's been a big help for us.
Thank you guys are doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad
You can
actually to
always do
see that
better.
you're doing social media. I know people get mad at social media, but I feel like we do a lot of communicating through social media. And I think that helps when we're trying to be transparent.
Sure. I feel like it's an important part of this community. I really do. I feel like that is a lot of how not only can rumors or misinformation go out, but then also coming from authorities, the proper information and the actual message or truth be there. So it just, to me, seems like it's sometimes hard because sometimes people just sort of don't like you, no matter what you do or say. But I think we just try to stay positive, and being such a small department, really it falls on 2 of us. I mean, it's me and Danielle are really kind of run the social media.
No, but I'm glad to see it because I do think this community does a lot on Facebook in particular.
Sure.
Sorry, Mr.
I agree.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't know whether you were done there. I'm curious though about the responsibility that you have or don't have on all the mountain bikers. And was that already pre-thought? I mean, that's a lot, could be as they get busier and busier, quite an impact. That's
Well, the fire department and EMS, it has a gigantic, and Jeremy can actually speak to that and has some numbers, and so does Aaron Crawley, the director of EMS. It is within the city limits of Idaho Springs. So the mountain park is all within the city limits. So you are correct that it also will impact the police department. So there was an injury and I just happened to be here and I jumped on a bicycle and went up there, was able to kind of see how not only the fire department, EMS and Alpine Rescue handled that, because it was early on when the park opened. It definitely is something that the city's been supportive and approved, council approved us getting a drone. One of the things that we have people injured, finding them is sometimes the most difficult part. Unless you've gone up there, you don't really know what's up there. It's amazing, but it's also a little scary in the event of emergency trying to get to people. So that's one of the things that we've done. We are, I guess what I would say is prepared as we can be, but it definitely is potentially impactful to emergency services, no doubt about that. I know that Dylan's been in contact with some people that are looking at potentially starting with like sort of volunteers, just are kind of like a neighborhood watch. Mm-hmm. There's a similar program over in Jefferson County for open space where, people, they're not supposed to do first aid. They're not supposed to intervene. They're really to know where they are and call 911 to get help and know their location. That's the most important thing, because the location is the thing that can feel daunting when you're up there trying to figure out where people are. It's definitely interesting.
Well, and you hear about stuff where all the time. I mean,
the other thing is, what about, my concern are things like are we gonna have people going up there camping? Are we gonna have people that are unhoused going up there and trying to get up there and start a fire? And now we have a fire situation. So there's a number of what if scenarios that we've talked through, and work to be as prepared for as possible.
So the other end of the gondola is also inside the city?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see. It's exciting.
That's one way of putting it.
This is slightly off, but just maybe think of this.
Sure.
One thing that we might think about is, if you've ever been to Golden Gate State Park, they have on the trails, they have mile markers. It's like the Mule Trek, 27. And there's nothing electrical, there's no electronics or GPS. It's just, if you're lost and you call 911, you can say, I have a marker here. It's, MT 27. That might make that a little bit easier.
Sure. I think it's been discussed with COMBA, and I have a feeling that as time goes by with emergency services, with the city, there's some nuances like that we've actually talked about before. It's just trying to figure out the best approach.
Do we have the drone yet? Have you gotten the drone?
No.
You do realize it costs just minutes to.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first cost I got with this tariff stuff is changed cost for that equipment.
For what kind? I couldn't hear.
A drone.
Oh, the drone.
The drone.
So unfortunately,
There we go.
because there's capability to actually have the type of equipment that can fly also in the snow. And so I think if you're gonna kind of spend the money, I'm recommending that we spend the money for the proper thing, because if heaven forbid we
It could
have
snow
a
next
child
week.
wander off or get lost in the mountains and it's cold or snowing, we really want to have that ability, because you could need that for life
If it's
and death
available, we
emergencies.
should,
It's just that
bite the bullet.
it's a
and
little
do
bit
it.
costly. It's a little bit more costly than was originally, a lot of it has to do. The manufacturers with that type of technology are specifically pointing to the tariff issue. So we're trying to get some other quotes.
Yeah. Anyhow, well, that's good.
I had a question, but I think I asked you about this last year. So JeffCom creates these categories of calls.
Yeah, I'd have to check with Danielle to find out if these are created by JeffCom or if it's through our RMS
Okay.
system.
No, I just find it like that, like there's not like domestic violence at all. I think it's just
Falls
curious.
under
It's an
assault.
answer.
It's a what?
It's an enhancer.
Correct.
It's an additional charge.
We
It's
can
an
certainly
enhancement
break
charge.
that out. If you have questions like that, I can find that out, but it would be under the assault.
Yeah,
So it's gonna fall under assault, but it's not broken out to, if assault is menacing, so pointing a firearm at somebody or threatening somebody with a knife or domestic violence. So those are all different levels of what an assault
So
would
if there was
be.
domestic violence with no assault, that would be maybe menacing or something. I know, I've heard that like that's a popular call, right? Like domestic disputes, domestic violence. I was just curious that it wasn't.
Well, it's, when you look at reporting, not to speak, but yours is okay. Differs is same as, like the law enforcement side. You have major categories, which is what these are.
Mm.
These are your major categories. And you've got minor categories. This is a subcategory of that, so. I use my stuff to explain it. So for EMS, it's like a 300 series, which is emergency medical services. Well, under that, there might be 30 different subcategories. Down to motor vehicle accidents, injuries, without injuries, assisting EMS.
fluids.
So these, in order for JeffCom to maintain accreditation, they run off with law enforcement or fire. They run off the major categories, which is what the reports are, and then they can just do subcategory reports if you ask for it. They can go down the data. But normally, as agencies, we can do that through our RMS system, record management system. And we can drill down into the sub data, sometimes manually, because G-Force is awesome. Manually, we can drill down into that, which that's where if you're looking for that particular enhancement charge, that's what it's in the sub data.
And if it's something you're interested in, I can provide that information. It's really, I don't think that's actually that hard, just because those numbers aren't massive.
No, but assault usually, it's either assault in progress or assault cold. Those are the two major, and then you can subcount it.
Yeah, she can attest to it now. She's
Yeah.
in that world of those major categories and breaking down. And JeffCom has, I know on the law enforcement side was almost as much as the fire side, they have several hundred subcategories that they can break the data down into. And then when they run reports, you get the major, you get the head, kind of the header category. Even though there might be 4 other subcategories built into that call.
Yeah, I know, I'm just, curious about the prevalence of those types of calls.
Sure.
Also, I answered a domestic violence hotline for a long time, so I know the police are often involved in those, but I'm like, obviously the calls vary, like it's not always assault.
Right.
It's other
And
situations.
I think it goes, I wonder, is one of the categories in there disturbance? So the question is,
Is there
There's
disturbance? I don't see disturbance on there.
Could be civil problem.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
yeah,
I have a question.
sure.
A couple months ago, I was coming back heading west Bend on the highway. And it was dusk. And there was a car in front of me that didn't have any headlights on.
Right.
And it was a whitish gray car and it blended right into the landscape. So I called 911 because I didn't want somebody to come barreling down and
Right.
hit the back end of them. Well, then they started asking me all sorts of questions and I'm like going, here's where I am and this is what's going on and I'm not supposed to be on my phone.
Right.
So how do you handle those situations? And is it worthwhile reporting it or should I just ignore it or?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend in that kind of circumstance, calling 911, putting it on speaker, and I guess what I would say is, I know that most dispatch centers use some sort of a system, so once they identify the location to figure out the jurisdiction, then so who to send to the problem, then they have to start asking questions that may seem irrelevant, but oftentimes it's because the system's saying, okay, now ask these that are like officer safety issues or your safety issue. And then it kind of works its way down of this list. And depending on what you're asking about, it may take you to, if it's a medical issue, then it takes you to a totally different system to ask these things. So they're not,
It's canned.
it's all, you're exactly right. It's a canned system. That's a perfect way of saying it, which can feel annoying to the person calling. Keeping in mind that at least here, when you call 911 here, you're speaking to a call taker. And so the call taker is taking that information, they're typing it in, they're connecting to the dispatch people that are for us. And so that person's seeing that call now pop up on their screen live. And so the person that's actually sending police or fire, they're not the person that you're talking to. They're, that call taker is focused on that, and that way the dispatcher that's sending the resources only focused on the emergency services part. So sometimes people are sitting there answering questions, and they have no idea that the other person who's across the room is already sending the resource to the emergency. As they're going down all these canned questions.
Okay.
So that can
I was
feel
quite
frustrating,
annoyed.
like, wait a minute, stop asking me questions and start sending someone there, but they are sending someone.
I see, okay.
So it can be, yeah, until you see that, it's sometimes, yeah, it's a little confusing.
Inhale, no way.
Yeah. Not that common, yeah.
Any other
So is there,
There's a lot of going on. Oh, yeah, that's not
Did you have another question?
no, only that, is there a regular meeting now?
Yes, at 7 o'clock.
So, thank you, this is awesome. Yeah.
It's a.
Oh, no.
I wish the chickens were on fire.
All right, we got.
10 minutes.
Wait a minute, let's go to our regular meeting and that's assuming this is not gonna make it on time. If not, yeah, it'll be a quick meeting.
It's not that big.
Unfortunately, we have a ton of stuff on the regular agenda. Sir?
All right.
Okay.
I know, Wonder's got a new car. It's not that bad, I know.
Yeah,
Or-
I don't know if you saw.
I don't even know how that works.
I don't know, we had a couple of jobs.
One of our guys got.
And then
like some back
Christmas
somebody.
this year, he did a good job.
Yeah, that's the problem with that.
Yeah.
They're probably trying to get all the time.
Whatever, it's just.
You get
Me too.
I don't know.
I know.
We were up for a while.
Cars.
It's messed up. It's somewhat true.
Not necessarily the area.
Yeah, we had
It's
a
the
sticky point of like,
I don't know.
when the project goes away, and our definition of into the project versus their dimension weren't the same. But we worked through it, we workshopped, we ended up in a very good spot. We're providing a lot of reporting, safety reports, and other things. Copy guys
There's only three of us.
I was wondering about that, so there has to be four.
Question is, the card that I should be using now or, yes.
Yep.
It's a debit card.
Yeah, we can.
Probably just an interest.
They can have a meeting.
That would be great, thank you. So it's just, it'll save us.
So, we can actually. Can't vote on it.
Right.
Well, it might be an easy night for Jeremy then. No one could vote. Go ahead. Skip it all. Where's your hammer?
Apparently they moved it for me. I was gonna leave it there.
Stop on the table with your fist or what? He's got a hammer, he's got. Really hammer over.
Because apparently
Well,
that
and
makes
then
all the
last-
difference. I don't understand that.
So we're not comfortable approving.
There's been a couple of mayors that have used that,
Yes.
I know.
I don't, has Chuck hit the hammer even at all?
It's just like a 2 week, yeah, it's a
Very-
gap right here.
Very gently.
Very
Yeah.
gently, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay, so it's the next, not even.
Right, so I've seen like,
Okay.
really knock the plate off. But that's the thing.
Well, and Jessica was asking, she was emailing me.
Thank
asking
you.
if it was gonna get approved today, and I was like, yeah.
Thanks for the report, chief. It's been great.
A bit. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I am good. You should probably move to the middle, Jeremy. Okay, so you're gonna have to speak up because you have a soft voice.
I'll figure it out accordingly.
And they'll be.
Although it ain't looking good.
That's kind of,
I know.
I think the only thing that everybody's.
Because we need one more.
Well, East End and all businesses want to know how to.
But just so you know, I'm not dispatching.
What's that?
I'm not
Do you think that would be okay if we?
because I couldn't get the split ear right.
Workshops?
Oh, that makes sense.
Because I had the phone.
There's no reason.
The wire that connected the phone, hands and ear for the radio.
Yeah,
That was phone.
okay, so then I can probably start.
There are some
Okay, well,
No, I can't like you can't also.
start working on that
You
one
have like usually there to our phones, radios,
Yeah.
and radio.
publicly, yeah.
Your dispatchers.
Oh, Scott.
Yeah. It's a good thing you're here, my friend.
I know.
We are, like, we're just at quorum. So, but you're right, because I got a call.
Thanks, Scott. Now we have to work.
Now we have to have.
They're cold or-
Yeah, you're almost gonna get out of
Yeah, try to pack everything.
Here.
Oh, yeah, right.
You don't have enough keys already?
dispatch codes.
I am.
The high, go with the highest priority.
There's no marking there, is there?
Yeah, no,
Are
you good? USB?
Well, I don't have a USB.
No.
Still getting it. And if that's.
Oh, it moved.
This is a form.
Got it okay with the deal?
He's been trying to get it out of my bills.
Well, we trying to find this.
You're already here, man.
I used the ladder, I needed the ladder, I needed the light.
Oh, so you're like, oh, I'm not really.
Really got a little bit here.
What's that?
It was just little nails.
Hey, Jimmy,
It doesn't damage
do you
anything.
drive like an Escalade?
It's down the hill.
Denali. Did I see you go by yesterday or whenever I was putting up the Skelly?
Mine's blown up at the dealership, dude.
Or is it, so that was it? I was like, was that Jimmy?
Yeah, it's brand new, it's at the dealer.
Sorry.
Nice. Rotten luck.
No. That's it.
I heard from you how to.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't have one anymore for a while.
I am not because I don't have a big of a share and I said, what's the deal? And I said, how about we push it off to a fund from 6? And I was like, okay, that's nice. I loved it. I thought
Okay.
we could give money for January. I think it from there.
Oh,
We're trying.
I'm good.
No.
Something like that.
He's, his daughter's getting married, so he is out doing family stuff tonight.
Where at? Amherst or around?
Yeah, he's,
Cool.
Okay, Casa Bonita is not a bad place. It's not scary anymore.
Get his opinion.
Oh, I went there.
Oh, yeah.
It's the food is delicious.
It's delicious.
It is.
It was really fun.
And it's good, the food, we sat in the table, like the one that was up closest next to the drivers.
Oh, you got a good one.
Yeah, but I used to go there when the kids were little, when the food was, and so now the food is really good.
No way.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody to Tuesday, May 27th, regular scheduled meeting of the Idaho Springs City Council. We'll call to order at 7:02. We will start with roll call.
Janine Mariani.
Here.
Kay Collier. Jim Clark.
Here.
Lisa Manifold. Here. Scott Pennell.
Here.
Mayor Chuck Harmon. Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Here. I'll stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda for May 27th, 2025.
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise their right hand. Aye. Opposed? All right, agenda's approved. Any conflicts of interest?
I have a conflict of interest on the financials or the bills, that there's a bill for S&B car wash.
Awesome, thanks, sir. Okay, we'll just split the bills into two approvals on that one. Okay. All right. Okay, looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes for May 12th, 2025.
I'll second.
Thanks, Lisa. This is. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. Looking for a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills excluding S&B car wash.
Perfect. Got it.
Second.
Second, Judy. Roll call, vote, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Jim Clark,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes. All right, we get a motion to approve the bill from S and D Car Wash.
I'll move to approve the bill from S&B Car Wash.
Okay.
Second.
Give me a second. All right, we'll vote for that, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Jim Clark,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes. Awesome. All right, public comment, my favorite part.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, I believe we also need to do an agenda approval.
Oh, we do. Sorry, I had to modify the agenda. I apologize. My mistake. We're learning here. We're doing a very important job of that. Admit it. We need to add one thing to, I need to add one thing to the agenda under, Assistant City Manager is to approve it'd be for approval for a local planning capacity grant through DOLA, to perform planning for senior living, for senior housing.
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second. Scott, second, thank you. All
All in favor?
All in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
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 Thank you for catching that, because I haven't had a point of meeting. Okay. We have Tracy Troya first for public comment. You have 3 minutes. You can go to your favorite place.
That's actually kind of excited for me.
Can you please just state your name for the record?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Tracy Troya. I'm with Fairfield County. I'm representing the Mayor's and Commissioners Youth Award for 24-25. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you, Administrator Marsh and Councilman. Real quick, just wanted to say thank you in the past. Idaho Springs has done, has been extremely generous in donating towards the Mayor's and Commissioners Youth Award. For those of you that might be a little unfamiliar with this award has been, it's been 20 years plus. Used to be right out of the mayor's, the Denver's mayor's and commissioners area. 3 kids were awarded from 7 different counties. Got to be a little too much. They decided to break it down to individual counties and allowed for counties to carry the name if they'd like. Adams, Arapahoe, and Clear Creek still currently do. County gives us a small budget, and then with the generous donations of the counties, we are able to continue this award and move forward. It recognizes teenagers between the ages of 13 and 19 who have overcome personal adversity and created positive change in their lives. The award focuses on teenagers who have triumphed over great odds, who served as inspirational models for their peers. The award does encompass youth who have not finished school, youth in traditional classroom, youth in alternative schools, and emancipated youth as well. All nominees are recognized at a dinner held locally. They receive a gift bag. In that gift bag, they get a computer, a 1-year subscription to Microsoft 360 earbuds. Let's see, a computer bag. What else did we do this year? They'll give you an over $20 gift certificate to Amazon. They also receive a $500. Well, it could be you could call it a scholarship, but it's more of an award towards an institution of higher learning, possibly driver's education if they would choose, a summer camp or a club sport. This year we had 8 youth awarded. We had 1 from Lawson, 1 from Empire, 2 from Floyd Hill, and 4 from Idaho Springs. We had the dinner on, this was that May 8th. It was wonderful. We had approximately 50 people. And just community agrees to the families. And again, just want to thank you. I believe Idaho Springs does budget. So just more so opening it up to informing those who may not be familiar with it. And does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? It's a great program.
Yeah,
Thank you for all you do to make it work.
Thank you. Appreciate you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see Amy in the back. Amy, you're next.
Thank you. I'm Amy Tomlinson, and I live at 38 Virginia Canyon Road. And I just wanted to give you an FYI, the corner of 12th and Minor Street, where the Mustang, the 50 passenger bus comes around the corner in front of the rec center to go make another left to go to the bus stop, has proven to be a really bad place to park. I parked my car on the corner heading west on the north side of the street, and the Mustang turned the corner but didn't make it. And so they backed into the front of my car. And I'm in the rec center a lot, and those buses come through seemingly every 10 minutes. And I don't know if that has occurred other times, but I think that if it does happen again and you do hear of it, putting a no, taking that first space by the stop sign out of commission would be really helpful, because I've noticed that when they can come around the corner and they can pull wide into the curb, they can make it. But if there's a car parked there, they have some difficulties. And it did a significant amount of damage to my car. I had no idea, that that was even a problem until it happened. But I did want you to know that that could be an issue, and somebody needs to be aware that it happened. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I respond to that?
Yes, please.
Amy, I want to let you know that, that was brought to our attention by the operators of Mustang. And that first spot we have a temporary sign there for no parking in that first spot there at 12th and Minor. And when we go to do our restriping of the spaces in the next few weeks, we're gonna permanently make that no parking there so that bus can swing wide there. So but thank you for, I did not realize your personal experience with that. So
Yes.
sorry that happened, but
Yeah.
hopefully in the future, they'll have a little more room to make that turn.
Great. Thanks so much.
Amy, did you have another comment on the agenda? So I think we got a little switch. That was your unscheduled
Right.
public comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Would
And
you
now
like to
she's
do-
scheduled.
Would
Okay.
you like to hear your schedule? Because I really want to hear your schedule. because that's-
Did you print the pictures?
Yeah, the pictures are in the.
It's in the
Yeah.
Are the pictures in the packet? Yeah, okay. So I'm Amy Tomlinson. I still live at 38 Virginia Road, which has been a hotbed of activity lately with the water and sewer. And we are right on the corner of Virginia Canyon and Virginia Street. And we have a dry set rock wall that runs the length of our property from our driveway east to the Brian Hose house. And there's been some damage done to the rock wall as a result of the digging for the water and sewer. And so we would like to know what the procedure is to get that fixed.
Can I respond to that?
You're welcome.
Okay. Amy, that was brought to the attention of the contractor. They have weekly progress meetings and, we're gonna get that fixed, have them get that fixed. So,
Okay.
they are aware of the damage there. Thanks for, again, bringing that to our attention and get that taken care of.
And by the way, the contractors have been fabulous. They've been so accommodating and very considerate of the property, and when we need to get out of the driveway, they move whatever they have to move. They've just been really, really nice. Great to work with. Thank you.
Anybody online? I don't have anyone online.
And now Amy was the only unscheduled, right?
Yes,
Awesome.
she was scheduled in, so.
I know, she's. All right, at that point, I will close public comment. There's something else. All right, what, going? All right. Next thing on the agenda is the liquor licensing authority. I'll read my thing.
Hey, I'm Andrew Yard.
I gotta
We
read
got a
the,
spiel.
Oh,
I gotta read the spiel.
Okay.
Even though I'm excited.
Thank
I read it. Okay, this is a public hearing for the Our Things Liquor Licensing Authority as an application for a modification of premises for the existing license at Yards Tap House LLC, DBA Yards Tap House located at 2731 Carl Boulevard. The city council serves as the liquor licensing authority. This is a public hearing. Witnesses will be sworn in before offering testimony. While strict rules of evidence do not apply to this hearing, I do have the authority as the chair of this hearing to limit testimony or evidence that is irrelevant, repetitive, or cumulative. So the order of the public hearing will be as follows. The deputy city clerk will present her reports and findings. The chief of police or any other city staff may present their recommendations. The applicant, Mr. Yard, may be present, which he is, and you'll be able to provide evidence and testimony. And any other interested party may present evidence and testimony. And under state and local law, a party of interest includes an adult resident of the city, an owner or business manager of a business located in the city, a representative of a school located within 500 feet of licensed location, a representative of an organized neighborhood group within the city. And at the end of this, the applicant may present any rebuttal evidence and in response to any other testimony given. All right. And well, do we swear them in first or we open the hearing? All right, we'll open the hearing. All right, so it is now 7:15 p.m. And I will open the public hearing. It's an application for a modification of premises at the Yard Tap House located at 2731 Caldwell Boulevard. And I invite the deputy city clerk to give her presentation to the authority.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, you have my staff report in front of you. I didn't hear any negative comments from fire or planning with parking regarding this permanent modification premise. That's all.
Awesome. Chief, do you? Nothing to add. Nothing to add? No. Even better. All right.
Nothing to add.
That's good.
Say your name and address for the record, please.
Andrew Yard, home address,
That's fine.
477 East Mountain Avenue, Empire, Colorado.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add?
Not much. We did it last year. We're just gonna limit it this year, so we're not utilizing the whole backspace and we can still utilize that spot for parking. So last year it was kind of more of a blind spot to us, and I don't want to repeat that piece out front now with the bike park opening up. We're gonna have people trying to bring their bikes in and leave their vehicles where they found parking already. So having that extra space is gonna be kind of nice when they get all fired off and start seeing bikers every day. We had like 6 bikers or 8 bikers put it out front, and all of a sudden we can't stand out front now. So we gotta need to have a little extra space for them. You can't put them against the fence on the outside, the risk of being stolen or easily.
Yeah.
Protective. And that's really it. No other plans really for it.
Help me out here. We close the public hearing at this point?
Yes.
We're at that point. Okay. I'm learning. I apologize.
Yeah, no.
As an after.
No public comment.
Oh.
Yeah, is there any public comment? Sorry. Hearing none. Now we will get moving with this. Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:17. And the council will begin its deliberations. Thoughts, concerns, questions?
This is the second year, this is that,
Second year, and it was very successful last year, I think. From my understanding.
Yeah, they had a temporary modification last year, and temporary is you have to schedule the dates, and it's a lot more expensive for the business. So this is a more permanent, and then it's a lesser fee because it's not changing all the time. And I didn't get any complaints about activities over there last year.
Yeah, great place too. Good job.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I don't have anything, if it went well last year, I think thinking about where to put the bikes is super important.
Oh, yeah.
We have the same problem.
Yeah, there's already too many, like, that's just like the crew comes over and it's like too many bikes. And then once it gets hot, you don't want to be, you know, you want to be able to stand outside and can't just be stuck around everybody's bikes.
Mhm.
Which is good. Good problem to have.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm pretty stoked about it. Can't wait till we're doing it full time.
Okay. No further discussion, I guess I'll make a
For me.
motion. So, I make a motion to approve the application for modification premises for existing license at Yards Tap House LLC, DBA Yards Tap House located at 2731 Caldwell Road.
I'll second.
Thank you. No further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
I'll let you go more.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, everybody.
Do we have the finance officer here?
Not tonight.
What's the report? Just a report and. Take it. Are there any questions, concerns? From finance? Cool. All right. And what we have the, non-public hearing. This one is for the, 1041 permit for the I-70. Christian is in the room, so good to see you guys. We'll get through this slowly, I promise. All right, this agenda item is to a public hearing on resolution 17 series 2025, a resolution conditionally approving a 1041 permit for development in an area or activity of state interest within the city of Idaho Springs with certain improvements related to the essential portion of the Colorado Department of Transportation Interstate 70, I-70 Floyd Hill to Veterans Memorial Tunnels project. So the city council is required to, by law, to hold a public hearing on this item. And we'll go over the order of the hearing. The order of the hearing is as follows. I will invite city staff to give their presentation in regards to 1041 permit. I will invite folks, the Colorado Department of Transportation, to provide any comment they wish. We will open it for public comment in regards to the permit, and then any questions from council members will be taken next and discussed. At that point, once those are done, I will close the hearing, and then I will ask for a motion on the resolution. So are we good with the process? All right. We're going to start with Dylan. At 7:21.
Hello, council. So in lieu of presenting all 31 findings from my report, I was hoping I could just summarize that relatively quickly. But the report has all of the findings. Generally, we found this project, the central section, to be in conformance with those findings. This is the next phase of the submittals of this project. We approved the western portion last year, which had a lot of these improvements already included, but there's kind of two key elements, I would say, that are specific to this. The first is the sound wall, noise wall at exit 241. Obviously, that's the western portion of the project, but we're reviewing it as part of the central. The other big one is the roundabout at Hidden Valley Interchange at exit 243, and that to help with vehicle tracking in that area, as well as to improve access for this new, soon to be created US 6 frontage road connection into that area, which would be a nice addition. So the first big one is the exit 241 noise wall. I know they have updated renderings and video renderings and things like that, so I'll keep it relatively brief, but basically this will be 16 feet tall on the western portion, 14 on the eastern portion, 520 feet long is what I have in my report. And their studies showed that there will be substantial improvements for noise to the residents in that area, which is very positive. The big construction concern for that is just during construction, city utilities are close to that location in several areas, so we'll need to make sure we coordinate that, and that's a condition in here. The other big one is the roundabout, and just coordinating signage and final aesthetics is another condition I've included. Just going through some of the very, the kind of things that are impactful, short-term or long-term would be, delivery of essential community services and goods. That's, of course, we've been feeling closures and impacts from that throughout the construction process. That's going to continue through the construction process, but long-term, this project should greatly improve the delivery of services, as well as our, infrastructure. The, other big one that could be a point of concern is about our ability to provide public service to the area. We sent this out to, like PD and Public Works, and they had no issues with providing services to our portion of the project. The other big one is just environmental concerns, and there's a lot of things they're working on to work on water quality improvements over time, monitoring permanent structures and things like that they've already committed to, which I think is quite positive. And then other environmental impacts will only be, at least remain the same in the case of air quality, get better in terms of noise because of the noise wall. Those are the big ones that I discussed or called out in the report. If anyone has questions on any of the other criteria, let me know. We have a recommendation in favor of approval with the 5 conditions in the staff report. The first 2 were from previous approvals that we gave about that the development is consistent with purposes and intent of the article, and that IGA regarding repair of wastewater plant facilities damaged during blasting or construction remain in effect. Those are just carryovers. The other ones are just about aesthetic coordination and utility coordination for those roundabouts and noise wall. So, yes, we as staff recommend approval with those conditions. Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for me now, or?
The question now or after the hearing?
Is it now or after?
Well, questions of Dylan versus the applicant.
Let's wait till after. After the hearing, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll be here for any questions.
Who would like to present them?
We would.
All of the above.
Awesome. No, good to share.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council.
Good evening. Please, state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. My name is Kurt Pianka. I'm with CDOT. I'm the Floyd Hill Project Director. Well, my home address.
That's okay. Next.
I'm Tyler Brady. I'm Design Manager for the Floyd Hill Project.
And I'm Abby Midafre. I'm a Project Manager for the I-70 corridor in the Environmental Department.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Council. Thank you for having us.
Sorry. Can you please
I-
all just raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Council. Thank you for having us back here today. Thank you for your continued support of the project. Very important project for the I-70 Mountain Corridor. Have a quick presentation to go through here, couple renderings, and we're gonna just talk about what's upcoming, and then certainly have time for any questions. So next slide, please. So just to kind of ground us, familiarize us with what the project is, it's improving 8 miles of I-70 from the top of Floyd Hill at exit 248 all the way to the first exit of Idaho Springs at exit 241. That's the map here. Previously, you saw it in different sections. Now we kind of have all the areas ready to go. So it's just one big stretch through here. Next slide, please. So the primary benefits of the project were alleviating that bottleneck that's created at the top of Floyd Hill when you're coming in the westbound direction, where I-70 goes from 3 lanes, drops down to 2 lanes, and tends to back up on those heavy traveled days through here. And so we are adding an extra lane through there, a full-time tolled express lane from the top of Floyd Hill, and then we're connecting it into the existing Mountain Express lane at the Veterans Memorial Tunnels. So you have that 3rd lane all the way through. And so this is not to be confused with the Mountain Express lane out here. This will be standard shoulders, standard width. It'll have a buffer in between the general purpose lanes and the express lanes. As Dylan mentioned, we are also adding a new frontage road connection that doesn't exist today from the bottom of Floyd Hill where US 6 is forced onto I-70. You now have the option to go all the way to Hidden Valley Central City Parkway that connects with County Road 314. So that provides that resiliency for emergency services and just another way around through here since we know those detours are pretty long through here. We are adding a new connection from the bottom of Floyd Hill to the eastbound direction of I-70. So bottom of Floyd Hill, up Floyd Hill will be a new connection. We're going to carry that lane all the way up over Floyd Hill so that big trucks can get up to speed before they have to safely merge into traffic through there. A lot of safety improvements through here, and you'll see that through our rendering. We're bringing everything up to a 55-mile-an-hour design speed, which currently it's 45 miles an hour and below through there. As you go around those corners, you don't have that sight distance where you go around a corner, see something and have time to stop. So we're bringing everything up with standard shoulders through there. So a lot of good safety improvements through here. And then also we are improving the Clear Creek Greenway Trail through here. So we're reconstructing that the entire stretch, 10-foot wide in concrete up to ADA standards. So that'll be a big benefit through here. And then there's different opportunities for enhanced wildlife connectivity. And then when we get I-70 a little bit farther away from the creek, we can add some benefits for riparian and others through there. And then we are doing a lot for water quality and being very mindful of recreation, especially with the rafting community, that one of the very heavy travel corridors for that. And then we've installed 2 permanent air quality monitors, one here in Idaho Springs at the health center, and then one downstream near the fire station at the top of Floyd Hill. Next slide, please. And Dylan, are you able to play the rendering?
Should be.
All right.
You need sound?
It does not have sound, no.
I'll turn over to Tyler to walk us through it.
All right, so we are gonna be traveling from east to west in this rendering. So this is going down that steep grade of Floyd Hill itself. And one thing the project will do is add that 3rd lane in the westbound direction and also have that 4th lane, which is the climbing lane in the eastbound direction. That lane you see taking off and going underneath the westbound direction, that's the new westbound off ramp to US 6. So the existing ramp is very steep, and then the grade will be flattened by extending it up the hill quite a ways. So that's what that is. And then westbound I-70 itself goes on this large viaduct structure. So the gray areas in this video are the structures and the darker gray are the on grade portions. So both westbound and eastbound will get new structures here, traversing over US 6, with the westbound viaduct being a drastically larger curve radius, meeting that 55-mile-per-hour design speed. It's a little bit funky here as we get into the narrow section of the Clear Creek Canyon, with now westbound being on the left and the new US 6 being in the middle and then eastbound being on the right. Then there's that new intersection with the new eastbound on-ramp there at the bottom of the hill from US 6 to eastbound I-70. So we have the Greenway Trail on the left, the creek, westbound I-70, then US 6, and then eastbound I-70. As we get into where the Sawmill Gulch area is, this is where that large excavation is currently taking place, so that both westbound and eastbound I-70 can be up out of the canyon, and it removes the W shape through the canyon. So I-70 will continue straight through here, and that's how we achieve the 55-mile-per-hour design. And as we keep going westbound will now ungrade from eastbound and come back to their normal positions, with westbound on the right and US 6 on the north side. Right now we're approaching, to the right is the CDOT maintenance yard, and then coming into Hidden Valley. And then you see there at Hidden Valley, a new roundabout intersection at the north side, so that it handles the new US 6 connection into that roundabout to Central City Parkway. County Road 314, east Idaho Springs Road there that goes underneath the highway. And then continuing to the west, there's a large cut that's happening. The other thing that's under construction right now, it's kind of that rock shape that's on the north side, because I-70 will push drastically into the hillside there in order to, again, achieve that design speed. And then by moving I-70 so far to the north, we will have the ability to create some riparian and vegetation improvements on the south side next to the creek. Because we recognize that the creek has been kind of channelized over the years by I-70, so there's some creek improvements there on the south side. And that leads us into the Veterans Memorial Tunnels where this rendering ends, but then beyond the tunnels, that's where the project will then transfer into the Mountain Express lane and then also the Idaho Springs noise wall at the 241 exit coming from that structure that goes over I-70 at 241, extending back to about the pedestrian bridge that crosses the creek. All right. Wow. It's a lot to take in there. I'll be talking about some additional points here. In general, this package that we're looking for approval for today is our package 4. It's our central section, and it's the major construction elements are 8 bridges, varying complexity, including 1 mile-long structure. That's that westbound structure you saw in the video with 34 spans and carrying westbound I-70 in that new alignment with much larger curve radiuses. That new roundabout at Hidden Valley Central City Parkway interchange, and some improved ramp geometry at all sides of that interchange. Several new roadside walls along I-70 between US 40 and Hidden Valley. A new 2-mile frontage road connection from US 6 to the Central City Parkway, East Idaho Springs Road. New entrance ramp from US 6 to that eastbound I-70, like Kurt mentioned previously. And then lots of rock blasting that people are already seeing in the saddle cut east of Hidden Valley, as well as at US 6, kind of east of the maintenance yard. And then, of course, the new noise wall. That'll be the closest thing here to Idaho Springs, new noise wall at 241 interchange. Next slide, keep going. All right, so what you'll see here in the near future. So east section traffic is about to move into its final alignment as the contractor will complete the final punch list items. That's coming up here in Q4 of 2025. We'll also be starting to build those large structures that you saw in that video. So the caissons, which will be the underground portion of those structures, will start to be installed. And then that's the segmental bridge, is the portion that will span over I-70 and over the creek and over the Greenway Trail. That section of the superstructure will begin work in January of 2026. And it'll be built in 15-foot sections over live traffic. It all has its own containment device and things like that, but it's going to be quite interesting to see starting in January. That work will happen about 30 to 50 feet above traffic. And then, of course, the blasting will also continue further to the west as we have a decent amount of material still removed from that face that's on the north side of I-70, kind of between I-70 and the Central City Parkway. So that blasting will continue in both the central and the west section of the project, but everyone looks to be the Boyd Hill project. All right, next slide. So again, this is just covering that rock scaling and blasting. Traffic holds will continue. There are expected to be 20-minute traffic holds, sometimes multiple times a day. Sometimes we see delays up to 45 minutes as those queue clears, but and sometimes that's because rock scaling can be necessary after we have the blast. Sometimes we have to get people up there to pick off rocks that might be loose after the blast and things like that, so they don't fall on the traffic or the workers. And then a great way to learn about when those rock blasts will be is signing up for the text alerts. We have a large group of people who have signed up for that. So just texting Floyd Hill to 21,000 is a great way to always be in the know about when our rock blast will be. Now I'll let Abby talk to us about some of the NEPA environmental credits.
Yeah, we touched on a lot of this already, but from the NEPA process, through the National Environmental Policy Act, we get mitigation commitments that we have to fulfill for a large project. They can range from anything from noise, wildlife, air quality, hazardous materials. So there's a really wide variety of topics that these commitments can cover. So we have 15 different categories, and for this project alone, we have more than 100 different commitments. So we're doing our best to keep up with those. We update those monthly and make sure we're abiding by those commitments that we've made. We also review them monthly, typically with stakeholders. That can be through our technical team, or now that we're moving more towards construction instead of design, through our construction tech team. So if there's any changes that they need to be aware of, we make sure to communicate using that resource. We've already touched on a lot of this, but just a couple more points on the noise wall. As Dylan mentioned, he had his stats right. It is going to be between 14 and 16 feet tall and 520 feet long. And that did have to be approved by the receptors. So we actually sent a pullout and it was unanimously approved by the folks who would receive benefit from that noise reduction. So that's really promising. I did also want to point out that the final aesthetic treatment on the wall is going to match that of the one that's in Silver Plume. So it's sort of like, I don't know, triangles that look like mountains with a simple vertical look, and you can see that in the rendering there. As Kurt and Tyler both mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity for riparian improvements in the central section. So we are going to be expanding 2 existing riparian benches as well as building 2 new ones. So that should improve opportunity for recreationalists and fishermen, whoever might be interested in using the creek. We're also enhancing safe wildlife passage and connectivity in this package. There's not a super wildlife crossing structure here, but we are keeping in mind where we can connect pathways to make sure that there's better connectivity for wildlife who might be moving through the project area, making sure that there's appropriate substrate for hooves or whatever that might be. And then I also wanted to mention that we're replacing trees 1-to-1, so any vegetation that's removed is going to be replaced on site. It's going to be used mostly for landscaping along the Greenway Trail. And then just a little bit more detail about what we're doing for air quality monitoring. Thank you for the slide, Dylan. Those 2 air quality monitors that Kurt mentioned, one at the Health and Wellness Center and then one down by the fire station, are part of our monitoring efforts for Senate Bill 21-260. Floyd Hill is considered a regionally significant transportation capacity project, which basically means it's a big project that can be impactful to air quality. So we are required to do real-time air quality monitoring for particulate matter. We're going to continue that throughout construction, also continue it 2 years after construction. And then after construction as well, we're also going to be doing some additional gas monitoring. So those monitors will stay up there and be useful for quite a while. And then just a couple more notes on water quality. Through our stakeholder outreach process, it was pretty evident early on that liquid de-icer is a major concern for water health and just use on the roadway, how much we're using. So we developed an issue task force, which is essentially a stakeholder group for those who might be impacted. And we talked solely about water quality. We developed 2 different monitoring programs as an outcome of this ITF or issue task force. One was the expansion of our continuous monitoring program. So we have currently 4 different continuous water quality monitors within the project area, sort of from the twin tunnels down to the east section of the project. And that sends us chloride data hourly. So we're getting that, we're reviewing it and reporting on that data. And then we also developed a in situ or a discrete monitoring program where we're actually going out and taking samples of water quality so we can understand what the impact is after we build the structures. Are we treating the road more? How is that impacting water quality within Clear Creek? So we worked together, came up with different areas of interest to do that monitoring, and we're going to be starting that winter 2026. And then I'll pass it back to Kurt.
Yep, thank you both. So that's our final slide here. Yeah, if anybody's interested, just listening to this or anybody here in the room, please follow along with us. The text messages are great. We have over 16,000 people signed up for a text message, which is a great way to know when we're rock blasting, when you might be potentially impacted. Sign up for our weekly e-blast so you know what construction is upcoming for the next week, or give us a call. Thank you again for the time today and the consideration of the 1041 permit, and that'll conclude our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Seems like we do.
If you have anyone online.
Online, okay. No public comment? Now is a good time for any or all of your questions.
I think, yeah, they got mine. I guess I foolishly didn't realize that the Hidden Valley Bridge currently is gonna be moved, obviously, right? don't.
The actual two bridges at the Hidden Valley interchange that carry I-70 will remain. The bridges over Clear Creek just to the west will get replaced. And then we call it the Doghouse Bridge, but it's the access to the maintenance facility there. That will get replaced and carry the future US 6 at Hidden Valley.
I was just, the roundabout, I didn't fear there'd be enough room. I mean, Jonesy, how long was, what, one of your ladders?
It'll run through there.
It would.
Yeah, the design is great.
And even a wrecker with a
Yeah,
tractor trailer on it and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, that was some of those get pretty skinny. But it looked in the rendering fantastic as far as, space, so, I think you answered me, so appreciate it.
The entire project's designed for a wheelbase 67, like a standard tractor trailer that goes like interstate.
Yeah, 'cause there's a lot of commercial traffic, especially with, up the parkway with, fry sale and stuff into that pit.
Oh, Martin Marietta.
Or, it's Martin Marietta now that, and then up and over the top for, it's kind of the gateway for mid-county Gilpin and all the way up and over. So,
There's a new quarry up there as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, good looking into past the windshield on that.
One more comment that I would like to say, so for the aesthetic treatment in the roundabout, as of now, the plans have left that blank. We are going to set up a technical team and invite Idaho Springs to it to figure out what the aesthetics can be in the middle of that roundabout. And so when that's complete, then.
What's the estimated completion time currently?
So we have a phase completion in the plans, and so there's a lot of incentive for westbound to be complete in its final alignment at the end of 27, and then eastbound complete in its alignment at the end of 28. Those are the big milestones. We know we're likely gonna go into 2029 because of cold weather windows and seeding and some paving that might have to happen, but really you start seeing benefits in the westbound direction at the end of 27, and then we're pretty well complete at the end of 28.
Has there been many accidents caused by the construction? You keep those statistics or?
So we are tracking it, and I have data for the first year of the project. We're getting more data here soon, and we are looking into it. We haven't seen a significant increase in accidents through here. It is a corridor that you do see accidents in. I think that's a lot of the issues that exist there today, with the steep grades, the winding curves and all of that we're hoping to be alleviating. But we're happy to provide that data. We're tracking it all the way through here about accidents. Right. Reach out to Idaho Springs Chief and get some data from you as well. Right here.
You guys have done a good job, I think, of trying to navigate this. I mean, there's a lot of challenges to it, and I think I've noticed there's some abrupt lane changes at times. That's the only thing that I've the safety of the workers there, the safety of the cars traveling through that, the police trying to keep the speeds down is a big thing too, so.
Sure. Did you guys feel fortunate that this winter season was super mild for where you're kind of boxed in going, eastbound up Foothill with, spun out trucks and et cetera. With no access, if you're on this end trying to get there, to kind of clear up stuff. With no shoulders,
That was a big concern for us, and
Sure.
we've seen the videos of when those snowstorms hits and trucks can't climb the hill, and then with no shoulders and truck breakdowns and trying to figure that out. Generally speaking, I was very impressed with the way it worked this winter. We were able to get heavy tow out there for the trucks very quickly. With one exception, one truck that took a while to get that figured out. I think there wasn't one readily available, but we've been pretty quick in being able to get vehicles out of there and out of the way.
Sure.
We had a little bit of issue with some of the snow piling up in the very narrow 2-foot shoulder that we have there, so we'd have to get out there and clean that off during the winter. But generally speaking, we didn't see a whole lot of problems through there. In this next winter, it will have standard shoulders, which we're really looking forward to. So
Cool.
that'll be alleviated up that 7% grade through there.
Well, great job thus far.
Thank you.
I think it's been very creative with, moving westbound the way that you have, because we don't have a lot of room there. And I'm excited that we're gonna have 6 going through and have an access road. It has been successful with, doing the shuttling for people who are on the trail. Would you consider that a success, since last year was the first year you started it?
I think it's successful. We've had great feedback from different user groups that we coordinate with for that shuttle. A little bit light on the users last year, so we kind of improved our signage for this year and work with those user groups to improve some of the communication with different groups that might use the trail system, as well as locals obviously using the trail system. So hoping for some better turnout this year.
Okay, thank you.
One thing to add on that, I think it's just, for me, we never want anybody to be jumping on the highway on a bike or anything like that.
Okay.
So we haven't seen those issues with the implementation of that shuttle, so
I think self-preservation.
that's a success in my book, so.
There are challenges to building those big pillars and bridges and the traffic flow at that time. There's gonna be some extra challenges at that time, or is it pretty much figured out? You're gonna keep it the same and.
15-foot
That's-
sections, right? So,
Yeah, that's huge.
That's the brilliance of this design, especially at the bottom of the hill, is we're gonna be building it offline over traffic. And so you start seeing over this winter, first you see these big columns go up this fall. And then you see this big kind of apparatus, which is a form with a big catchment under it. And then it'll start going out in 15-foot sections, balancing over this pier to keep the weight equal. 15-foot section here, 15-foot section here, and then we have to connect it in the middle. And so we better be dead on, or I won't be invited back.
We won't be seeing you anymore.
No.
And that's what they're constructing today. They're constructing an access road along the whole westbound structure. So you can see some of the big cylinder walls that drive US 6. There's big cylinder walls in construction, and that's an access road for constructing the bridge.
Okay.
To be less disturbance of the actual I-7.
way better than those big 100-foot girders that they, right, pull in on one truck.
I wish we could get 800-foot.
Or 100-foot, yeah.
165-foot is our standard length
Yeah,
of the bridge
yeah.
through there, and then the 350 are the big ones that we're gonna be building
Wow,
up overhead.
unbelievable. How cool.
And then we're gonna see some big drill rigs out here in the coming weeks, drilling 8-foot diameter caissons into the ground.
Dang. How deep are those?
It varies. It depends on where bedrock is and how deep we need to go. It can be in the order of 20, 30 feet all the way up to 60.
Unbelievable. Wow, how cool.
So I do have one more question. When you said that the creek has been pretty, like, it's become basically a channel, are you planning to allow the creek to expand, making room for the creek to expand?
That was kind of those riparian improvements that
Mhm.
Kurt mentioned. There's some areas specifically designed to be flooded at times, but then also dry at other times of the year. And it's just specific vegetation that's going to be planted in those areas that survive and thrive in that kind of environment. And yeah, it's just planning for areas where the creek can widen if it wants to, and then also just planting correct vegetation to facilitate, a growth around the creek in those specific areas.
Yeah, you did great. I would say the big place to watch out for in this section where that's gonna be improved is the place where Tyler pointed out where we're pushing let's see, is that eastbound at that point?
Going north.
It's
Where they're pushing,
both of
yeah,
both.
exactly. And then on that south side, we're gonna build the bench out, but we ran into, I don't wanna say issues, but we had some discussion around where we could build benches where we weren't going to be disrupting any rapids that were really valued by the rafting community. So just kind of looked for some key areas where we had opportunity to either start anew or add on to what was already there.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
I'm good.
All good?
I'm good.
Yes, I have a question. Did I hear you say that, when you're constructing the, viaduct or the overpasses, your traffic will continue? Oh. So you won't have traffic holes when you're setting girders and things like that?
Generally speaking, no. I think when we need to impact traffic to set girders like that, we're doing it overnight, so we're taking a lane. But yeah, you know, we know the importance of I-70, sure we're gonna do everything we can to build it offline, which is part of, say, the reason for the braid. It's a lot easier and.
When you say offline, you're speaking about a lot of the, bridge work will be not over traffic, right?
A lot of it will not be.
Okay, but then when it comes over traffic can be maintained most of the time? Is that right?
Yes,
Oh.
you see some interesting things as we go through, especially over in between Sawmill Gulch and Hidden Valley. At one point, you know, we're keeping all the lanes out there open during those peak travel times, but we're likely going to split the Mountain Express lane and the general purpose lanes for a relatively short duration of time to allow for construction of a big pier and pier cap that we need to do. And so it's gonna look a little funky through there, but you're still gonna be able to get through there.
Wow.
The other thing I'd like to note is that for Idaho Springs, this is gonna bring westbound 3 full-time lanes all the way to exit
God.
241.
One.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, close to 241. And that's where it goes to Very Shoulder Lane, am I right?
Correct, and let me add on to that a little
Sure.
bit. Once you come out of the tunnels going westbound, you will have the 3 lanes there, and then you have a decision to make. Merge back into the general purpose lanes or merge into the Mountain Express lane when it's open, and that will happen before exit 241.
That's not enough.
And there'll still be that extended off ramp for exit 241 going westbound, am I right? That it's fairly extended through there.
Yes, you're
You're
not
not gonna
making
lose
a
that.
change in that.
Okay,
The only time is during the construction of the noise wall, and there be some temporary impact to that, its length, but it still will be adequate length, but that's the only time it will be affected is during the noise wall.
Very cool. All right, if we have no further questions, then I will close the hearing at 7:56. And ask for a motion to approve the resolution or something.
Move to approve resolution 17, series 2025, a resolution conditionally approving 1041-25-001, a 1041 permit for development in an area or activity of state interest within the city of Idaho Springs for certain improvements related to the central portion of the Colorado Department of Transportation Interstate 70, I-70, Floyd Hill to Veterans Memorial Tunnels project.
Thank you. I'll second. Second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Mayor Potem, Jeremy Jones.
Yes. Thank you for the time and effort that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, that was fantastic.
All right, we have no ordinance first reading, so we do have an ordinance second reading. So. In the water you dance.
Okay, so I'm about to throw a monkey wrench into this. Both Scott and I recused ourselves from this last time we voted on the first reading.
Yeah, that's my one question. Technically, if you guys are gonna recuse yourself, then we need to
Table it.
table this until the next meeting.
Well, and we don't have any attorney online to consult
That was
on.
my next conversation, so I think,
So we may want to just table it.
I think we should just table it till the next meeting and then we can bring it back up that same reason.
No, it'll be a majority. If we don't, so.
Yeah, just so we.
Yep.
It's not dire that we get through this process tonight, so I think we'll
Well, I
table.
will move that we table ordinance 9 series 2025.
Awesome.
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, table to this. All right, and we do not have Carmen or anybody tonight, right? Correct. Awesome. Andy, thanks for your support. You have just one request for action?
Yes.
Anything else beyond that before we get to that?
No.
All right. Looking for a motion for
I'll move to approve an amendment to an agreement for services from Ground Engineering Consultants, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $117,350 for Colorado Department of Transportation, CDOT third-party right-of-way inspection services related to the Chicago Creek Waterline Replacement Project on Colorado Highway 103.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
That's my second water line.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call please.
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes. I've got one addition from Sky, anything else you want to add?
Nope. Speak to this if you'd like.
So I guess I'll make a motion to approve a local planning capacity grant application to DOLA for the senior housing planning, not to exceed, our grant, sorry. The city portion is not to exceed $6,000, and that is due on May 30th.
I'll second.
Discussion, concerns?
Janine Mariani.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, Dylan, you're up. What else you got to add?
Comprehensive plan updates are going well. I should have a good finalized meeting dates for some upcoming meetings that should be pretty exciting. I've heard some really interesting things about historic preservation and community character. So I think a lot of people who are really interested in preserving what works well while growing. So I'm interested to see more about where that will be.
Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work on that. That's a huge project.
Yes, thank you for holding the meetings. It's tough to get people at the meetings. I appreciate, I'm excited that people are interested.
Sure.
Are these people who are in like the historic district? Are they just people who live in town and have an older house?
Regarding the historic preservation stuff, I would say it's just residents who do not necessarily have ties to the historic district. They're talking about, how do we preserve the early 1900s, late 1800s architecture and things like that, while also accommodating, all the opportunity we are lucky to have. So, I've been hosting the coffee chats every Wednesday, and I've had at least one person at every one of them, so I'll constitute that as a success.
That's a win.
Otherwise, staff have gotten a few muffins and donuts.
It's totally a win, and it's exciting that it's not people that are in registered buildings that are asking.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonder. On your report.
Nothing.
Nothing to add or something. Thank you for everything as always. All right, now we're down to Chief. Thanks for the staff report. Do you want to talk about the Lyle Wallers?
Sure, I can a little bit. I mean, I think it went well. The deputy sheriff's department was received the award. It was an incident that was mentioned last year. And a former Idaho Springs officer was there too, trying to save this boy, the thing that Jimmy talked about too. So that was good. And we did invite the CDOT plow drivers I had mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of them were able to attend. So yeah, it was good. There's one other program that's that we're working on with the sheriff's department and the chat team. Which I think, of course, we steal ideas from other places. And I just want to mention it because I think it's going to be a good program. But so basically it's called a blue envelope program. And so what we do is we'll work with the wellness center and we're working with the sheriff's department and chat to get items that like a person's registration or insurance, they put it in a blue envelope in their car. And these are people that may have certain anxiety or they're able to drive, but they may have they may have some issues with flashing lights or there's a number of things. And so it's a program that has been started in other parts of Colorado. Jefferson County in particular has that program. And so I commend the chat team for contacting ISPD leadership and the sheriff's department leadership to start the program. It's really not a lot of money. And so it's something that we're working on. So
Cool.
I'm excited about that.
It's a cool
I think
idea.
that's actually a great idea.
It's a really good idea.
It's a great idea.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we're jumping on it and we're working.
When you say not a lot of money, what are you talking?
Less than $1,000 for the police department, which I can find that.
Really good program. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't and you need to come to us, I would not be adverse to it. Because, no, seriously, I think that's it. I have drivers who are anxious.
Sure.
This would be great for them.
I agree. And it depends on what you do. You can, sometimes they have a thing for the seatbelt that's blue that stands out. So there's things that should stand out to the officers and they'll have a short training on the program so they understand what it's all about.
Really cool. Thank you. Ed? Thanks for this report. You look happy. Overworked, maybe? Tired?
I'm past tired.
Are you?
Yeah.
Thank you for double duty.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciate it.
Nice work on the.
Right, sometimes I feel like I'm missing or forgetting something.
I saw your trees when you forgot. It was excellent.
Yeah, they've been really working hard. Thank you.
But the water wastewater team is doing really well. The public works guys and the team down there is doing their best to let me know what's going on and keep things, it couldn't really be, it is better with the way that it is.
I do have a question. In your public works, you mentioned water wheel repair. What's happening with the water wheel right now?
Oh, just can ask.
Right, so last year,
Great.
it wore through the shim
Mhm.
and the axle of the water wheel started riding on the old bearing. So Scott Wallace and Bob went over there and jacked that up and then got it riding on the new bearing again. There's still like a couple of things that need to be done to get it ready for use. But it's on its way to being on.
Is that something that should be also like updating historic sites for that?
I think we should. Give an
Because it's
update.
listed as one of our sites, is it not? Even though I
Yes,
know there's a
yes.
lot of, there's been a lot of repair.
And the sites and facilities has not made a formal recommendation or I guess advice on these improvements yet. But perhaps we should get them on the agenda for, well, the next scheduled meeting in July. So we can at least give an update at them and make sure everything that's proceeding with that is on board with them. They did recommend in the plan that was approved earlier this year, that of kind of a full comprehensive analysis of that water will be done sooner rather than later. So I think this is probably a good time for them to kind of talk about.
Sorry, Ed, not trying to like add more onto your already.
Oh,
great.
don't worry about it, because now I'm gonna learn what to do to let the historic people know what's going on. Because I'm not really clear.
So Ed,
what to do.
I will work with you on this. Cool. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And even Dylan's awesome. And Wonder's awesome, and Guy's awesome, and Andy, and Nate.
Even Nate.
Yeah.
And Ed. And Ed.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ed, I appreciate that.
you're welcome.
And these repairs that are being made now are mainly the mechanism internally, am I right? To get it to turn, is that right? Unlike a few years ago when we had some of the wood that had to be replaced and, so.
Right, so there'll there'll be no visual change to anything that's over there. We'll just keep it up and spin.
Keep it up and spinning.
Yeah.
There's still the recommendation to do a full assessment of it, long term and preserving it. But what your crew is working on with Scott is mainly getting the wheel to start turning again and making some of those.
Right, the mechanicalness of it.
Yep.
I'd also like to share with you, I heard from one of my constituents who uses the park a lot. And she said, wow, I don't know what's going on, but the park is like all of a sudden all mowed and trimmed and everything. So thank you to you for that. I don't know if it was
That was
happening
Willie.
before,
That was Willie.
but that's what I heard. So I wanted to pass that on to you.
Right, we also have, if it was CRC, there's a contractor that does the CRC park and plugs it and.
They made a point to mention it to me, so I wanted to mention it to you.
Right. Cool.
Thank you. We're trying to figure a couple of things out. We're down to mayor and council. We've got 40 commissioner appointments. We got 2 for the.
Should read this one.
Just one, just Doug Smith. for one.
Not
Okay.
John, no.
Okay,
Johnny was
that's
reappointed
Oh.
earlier.
what we thought. That's what we were sidetracked on. We were making sure we're getting them all straight here. So, in your packet is Doug Smith, which is he's requesting to be reappointed to the variance board. Vote on this.
Motion, second.
I'll move to approve Doug Smith's reappointment to the variance board.
Second. Scott. Any discussion or issues?
There've been no, I'm not familiar with Doug. There've been no challenges. I believe he owns construction, like that hasn't been a conflict of interest. Not that I'm.
Not to date, and if you recall, we recently passed a new ordinance removing the city requirements
Yeah,
for variance board, and that was at least partially spurred by the fact that we realized he's no longer a city resident, but he does have the construction experience, so has an understanding of variance related issues. But we've actually, since I came on board, we've had 1 variance meeting, so we don't meet
I
too
think we've had
regularly.
2 in the whole time that I've been involved with the city, and it's been like 5 years.
It's pretty rare case.
Yeah, they don't happen often.
You will call it. First one, right? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, that's great. And then we've got letter of intent for an alternate for HPRC.
And I wanted to mention that Erica she's been a trooper and been on this whole meeting, so
hoping
she's
she
available
would
if
survive.
she's still here. Any those questions?
Before we actually get to Erica, is it actually an alternate? Oh, that's right, it is,
Yes.
sorry.
So-
We've had like 1 meeting since that last one, yeah.
Yes, I looked into this and it does allow for 5 regular members up to 2 alternates. And we do currently have our full 5
That's right, we did.
regular members, so 2 alternate seats are perfect. I don't know, Erica, can you hear us? I think if there's anything you want to add or anything like that, should be able to unmute. Want that.
Oh, hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. Yeah, you've got a very, very impressive resume and we're, I think, collectively very stoked to have you want to participate in HPRC. Is there anything you want to add that maybe isn't on your resume or cover letter you want us to know?
No, not really. I'm excited to even just be an alternate. I've never been able to serve on a commission because of my work. So now that I'm no longer working in the field, I can finally do it.
Understood. We're super excited to have the opportunity to put you on, I think. Does anybody have any questions for her?
No,
No, I'm super.
no, this is exciting. I will let you know is because I'm on the HPRC, we like our alternates to be participating. So even though it's alternate, we do like you to be there and participating, you're not an alternate. And this is pretty impressive, particularly because we still have work to do.
Yes, yes, yes. And our next meeting will be scheduled for June 17th, so, we'll be, meeting relatively soon, and I think that's where, if appointment and swearing in would occur, right?
Correct.
So it occur at the HPRC meeting? Okay.
Perfect. I'll answer that other question. Anybody else?
Don't let her get on.
No, so I will welcome a motion to appoint her.
I will move to appoint Erica as our alternate member for the Historic Preservation Review Commission.
I'll second. Thanks, Scott. Anything further? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. I think that covers all of it. Well, okay.
Congratulations, Erica. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All time. And we'll close the meeting at 8:15 and.
Yeah.
I'm not touching the gavel.